Okay, you ready? Oliver was walking near the river in the evening when a group of people dressed in black caught him. All of them were wearing masks. Their leader offered Oliver three options. They could throw the guy into the sea with hungry piranhas, he could choose to end up in the ocean swarming with sharks, or he could opt for a river with hippos. What should Oliver choose to survive? Piranhas only live in freshwater. The guy should pick the sea with the piranhas. An expedition set up camp in the middle of a desert. They were planning to spend several days in that place. But when they woke up, their truck had disappeared. Luckily, they had enough food to last a week, but no power and little water. But there was more to come. 3 days later, one of the team members disappeared. The leader of the expedition questioned the remaining people. Michael said he had been wandering around, trying to find water. Emily said she had been playing games on her smartphone. Evelyn claimed they had been sleeping all day long to save energy. And Henry said he had been preparing his research paper in his tent. Now, who's lying? Emily. In 3 days, her phone would have already run out of battery. There are 100 books on a shelf. To count off 10 of them, you'll need 10 seconds. How much time you'll spend counting off 70 books? It will take you 30 seconds. You'll need this time to count off 30 books, and the remaining ones will add up to 70. Sophia's sister, Chloe, visited her on Saturday. The women had a meal and talked about their lives. Chloe had been promoted. Her husband had recently presented her a diamond ring, and they were going to have a vacation in Hawaii. Chloe didn't have such amazing news. She only listened to her sister and complained about life. Right after lunch, Chloe felt unwell. She paled and lost consciousness. Sophia called an ambulance. They rushed Chloe to a hospital and hardly had enough time to save her life. It turned out the woman had been poisoned. The police came to Sophia to ask her a couple of questions. She was shocked. "We ate the same food. I cooked chicken and made a vegetable salad. Nothing exotic." After examining the food, the police officers arrested Sophia for trying to poison her sister. But how did she do it? The poison was in the bottle with the salad dressing. Chloe added some vinaigrette to her dish, while Sophia didn't touch the bottle. The moral? Stop complaining so much. A small cafe in Boston is called 9 Lanterns, but there are only 7 lanterns hanging outside. The owner knows about this mistake and can easily correct it, but he doesn't. Why? When the wind took away 2 lanterns some time ago, the man wanted to replace them. But before he could do it, he noticed that more people started to come into his cafe. They told him 2 lanterns were missing, and then stayed to drink coffee. Jackson came to visit his friend Aiden, who he hadn't seen in ages. They had a great time, gossiping and drinking tea. But Jackson had completely forgotten Aiden had one quirk. He loved making up riddles and never let anyone leave his house without cracking 1 or 2 of his newest ones. This time, his question was, "What do you swallow that can swallow you?" Can you help Jackson get home? Hey, it's already late. The answer is water. Jackson was smart enough to know he won't be able to leave Aiden's house after just 1 riddle. True to his expectations, another riddle was waiting for him. What is lower with a head on top than without it? Jackson took his sweet time, but eventually he realized the right answer was a pillow. Could he go home now? Apparently not yet, but Aiden promised it would be the last riddle for the evening. He told his friend, Hannah's birthday is on January 23rd, but she always celebrates it in the summer. Why? Luckily, Jackson had just returned from his trip to Australia. He immediately realized that Hannah lived in the southern hemisphere. There, January is the hottest month of the year. Students knew they would have an exam on Friday, but their strict professor didn't tell them the exact time. When one guy gathered enough courage to ask about it, he got a weird reply. If 11 plus 2 equals 1, 10 plus 6 equals 4. If you manage to figure out the answer, you won't miss the exam. Do you know when the students should meet with their professor? At 4 p.m. 11 o'clock plus 2 hours is 1 p.m. Then 10 o'clock and 6 hours is 4 p.m. James called his wife Mia and told her he would be at home by 8 o'clock. They didn't plan anything special for that evening, but when he arrived at 2 minutes past 8, the woman was furious. Why was she so angry? Mia thought her husband would come home by 8 p.m., but he appeared at 8:02 a.m. the next morning. Uh-oh. Look at these two ladies. They both seem to be filthy rich, but only one of them actually is. Can you figure out who's fake rich? It's the girl on the left. She's taking a photo with a luxury car in the background. But there's someone in the driver's seat, and this person looks rather shocked. One elderly man could only use a public telephone to make his calls. Once the phone stopped working, the man informed the phone company. He waited and waited, but no one came to fix the phone. Several days later, the man visited the company again and said something. The day after, the phone was working again. What did the man say? He said people use the phone to make calls without paying. Look at this picture attentively. What's wrong with it? The pitcher the woman is holding is empty. Then where's the milk coming from? Mark has always been jealous of his friend Liam's achievements. This week, they're both taking part in a battle of wits. Mark decides to do everything possible to win this time. And the first task is to guess the word. It has 7 letters and it is very heavy. But if Mark takes away 2 letters, he'll get 8. If he takes away 1 letter, he'll get 80. What word is it? The first riddle is a success. Mark finds the right word. It's weighty. The next question is even trickier. A man went around the world in a ship, and still he was always inside of land. How is it possible? It doesn't take Mark long to figure out the man was in a spaceship orbiting Earth. The next thing Mark knows, he's locked in a room. Wow. There are 4 doors there. He's entered through one of them, and he can't use it again. The first door leads to the room with high-voltage wires hanging above the wet floor. Behind the second door, there's a water-filled room swarming with piranhas. And the third door hides a room where acid, flesh-melting rain is falling from the ceiling. Which door is more or less safe to enter? Mark opted for the first door and didn't regret it. It was safe because he didn't let his body come into contact with the wires and the wet floor at the same time. It turned out the next task was the last one in this competition. Mark was looking forward to finding out the winner, but first he had to do some brain work. The world's tallest tower is finally finished. It took 5 years to build it. Every next year, the construction doubled in height. How many years did it take the tower to reach half its current height? Four years. If the tower grew twice taller every year, it had to be half of its final height a year before it was completed. And if you're wondering about the results of the competition, it ended in a tie. Duh. Luna has 2 friends, Jack and Owen. On her birthday, the girl wants to go to the movies with the guys, but they don't know each other and Luna's worried they might feel uncomfortable. But there's also another problem. She spent way too much money this month. But if she invites the guys, she's going to pay. Now, she's trying to understand what is cheaper, to invite both guys at the same time or go to the movies with each of them in turn. Can you help Luna? It'll cost the girl less to invite her 2 friends at the same time. This way, she'll only have to buy 3 tickets. If she goes with each of them, she'll pay for 4 tickets. It was a sunny summer day without a single cloud in the sky. The ship was in the harbor. There were many people on the shore. They gathered there to look at the vessel. Suddenly, the ship started to sink. There was nothing wrong with it, and all of its systems were functioning correctly. The weather was fine and the sea was calm. But the ship still disappeared in the blink of an eye. What happened? Well, nothing unexpected. Submarines are supposed to travel underwater. Ellis had to go to the hospital the other day. When she entered, she immediately felt something off about the place. Walking along the hall, she spotted 3 doctors. There was something completely wrong about one of them. Which doctor is crazy? The one on the left, he's got wolf eyes and teeth, and there's no badge on his uniform. Stay away from him, Ellis. Alright, Ellis didn't listen to our piece of advice and went straight to Dr. Wolf's room. He says he needs to apply some new protective cream on her, but in fact, he just wants to test it. After covering Ellis with this magic lotion, she shouldn't have trusted him. He makes Ellis choose one of 3 containers to jump into. Wow, this is a weird hospital. One of them is filled with toxic waste. In the second container, there's acid that can eat through metal. The third one is filled with lava from a volcano that almost ruined a whole town a year ago. What container should Ellis choose? At least this time, Ellis made the right choice. She picked the container with lava. The volcano erupted a year ago, so the lava is already completely solid and cool. Okay, she nailed the first experiment, and Dr. Wolf gives Ellis a choice of 3 pills. He says the red one can help see the past, the blue one can help see the future, and the yellow one can help read other people's minds. Which one should Ellis choose? Ellis was smart enough this time. She randomly picked the yellow one, but she suspected it was another experiment. She gulped the water but never swallowed the pillow and still has it in her cheek. In fact, all 3 of them were poisoned. When the wolf went outside for a second, Ellis spat out the pill and ran away. Hey, try the urgent care clinic, Ellis. No wolves there. Ginny was cooking dinner for her friends. When everyone was at the table, she suddenly realized there was something wrong with one of her friends. Which friend didn't like the meal? It's Mike. He secretly shared it with Jenny's dog. Everybody knows that an old witch lives in this spooky old house. Nobody really wants to meet her. Mary is in this house right now, but she seems to be alone. How come? Who said witches can't have a name Mary? She was once young and beautiful too, but then that darn spell happened. One town had a weird law that said all the men had to be cleanly shaven, but no man was allowed to shave himself. The only person who was licensed to shave them was a 40-year-old hairdresser. But who shaved the hairdresser? Yeah, there was no need. The hairdresser was a woman. Allison met a stranger yesterday, and she immediately knew who he was. She hadn't seen this person before, and no one had ever described him to her. He wasn't a celebrity, and he wasn't doing anything unusual. So, how come she knew who he was? The man was the twin brother of one of Allison's friends. Bill is a shoe shiner. He offers his services to passers-by for free. Still, people who accept it end up paying him of their own will. How so? Bill shines only one shoe for free. People don't want to look bizarre with just one clean shoe and have to pay for the shining of the other one. The king told his 3 daughters to place 3 identical kettles with the same amount of water on the fire. The king promised that the husband of the daughter whose kettle would boil first would become his heir. His youngest daughter's kettle boiled first. How come? While the other daughters kept lifting their kettle's lids to check if the water was already boiling, the youngest one kept it closed. Up for some math? Nah, just kidding. You'll only need your logic. Find a way to get 200 out of 188 by just using one line. Use the line to cut 188 horizontally. This way, you'll get 2 100s. One person was 25 years old in 2000 and 20 years old in 2005. How is this possible? This person lived before Common Era. One man went to his friend's party and told his wife he'd be back before sunrise. He shaved and left home. He returned as promised before sunrise, but he was sporting a long, thick beard. How come? The man and his wife lived in a place with polar nights that can last for several months. A man was driving his car all the way from New York to Boston. Only at the end of the trip did he discover that one of his car's tires had been punctured from the very beginning. Still, he managed to reach his destination successfully, and his journey wasn't affected by this problem at all. How is it possible? The punctured tire was the spare one. The financial director of a big company finally persuaded new partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his office. When he arrived at work the next morning, the folder was gone. John gathered all the employees who were in the office at the time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said that she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained that he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered John's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. John never mentioned which folder was gone. How would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Eric wears either only black or only white socks. One morning, he was in a hurry getting ready for an important meeting with new partners. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. He doesn't want to look silly at work wearing different socks. If it's completely dark in the room and Eric can't see anything, how many socks should he pull out of the drawer to get himself 2 matching ones? Three socks are more than enough. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 of the same color. A hungry vampire is following you in a lonely street one dark night. Suddenly, you see a house with its door wide open and decide to hide there. The vampire can't enter your shelter since you locked the door in the nick of time, but it's waiting for you outside. However, you still have some hope. There are 3 doors leading out of the house. When you open the first door, there's molten lava. No thanks. The second door leads to the room with tarantulas as large as your head. Yikes. As for the third door, you can definitely hear a huge dog barking inside that room, and you're kind of afraid of it. What should you do? Just wait till morning. Vampires can't stand daylight, and your pursuer will have to leave you alone. You're trapped in a room that's slowly getting filled with water coming from a faucet on the wall. There are no windows in the room, and the door is sealed shut. You have a mop and a big bucket. So how are you going to get yourself out of this one? Come on, just turn the faucet off. Now it's better. Jane told her boss someone had taken the document she prepared for the meeting. She added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a smart suit, gloves, and a black mask, safety first. This person also had 3 rings on their fingers. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see 3 rings on their fingers? Jane must have simply forgotten to print those documents out. A hotel owner was visiting the construction site to see the progress. He wanted to start welcoming the guests as soon as possible and had big plans. At some point, he left his briefcase with important documents on the table. Some worker grabbed it and ran away. The hotel owner didn't see who it was, but he immediately called the police. There were 3 suspects. The architect said he had been talking on the phone, trying to get electricity for the site as there was none. The designer told the police he had been trying to find the best paint for the walls. The electrician explained he had been down in the basement trying to fix a burst light bulb. The detectives figure out who was lying. Can you? It was the electrician. How could he fix the burst light bulb if there was no electricity at the construction site at all? Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Are you up for a detective challenge? Then grab a pen and a piece of paper. Each correct answer will give you 1 point. You'll find the results at the end of the video. Aaron has just become a detective and already got his first real case. He has to work undercover at a luxurious resort. The police suspect that the hotel owners are involved in some shady deals. Aaron's first task is to sneak into the manager's office and check his documents. But the door is locked, and there's a combination lock. Aaron has to figure out the password. The young detective knows he needs to solve a math riddle, and the answer will be the code. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, 1 + 1 times 0 + 1 equals… As soon as he punches in the code, the door opens. What is the correct number? It's 30. There are no mathematical symbols at the end of the first and second lines. It means the whole thing looks like this. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 1 + 1 times 0 + 1 equals 30. Aaron manages to get into the office and look through the papers, but he doesn't find anything useful there. While the detective was busy, one guest discovered her diamond ring and earrings were missing. Someone must have stolen the jewelry. Aaron has 3 suspects: Walter, another guest, Alice, a maid, and Alan, a porter. The undercover detective decides to check their rooms. He can't spend much time there, but what he sees is enough for him to understand who the thief is. Can you figure it out? It's Alice. There's already a packed suitcase in her room. She's about to run away with the stolen jewelry. Another day, another problem. This time, someone pushed elderly Mrs. Stevenson into the swimming pool when there was no one around. But this someone didn't know the lady was once the best swimmer of her university, and she never stopped practicing. And it wasn't difficult for her to cross the swimming pool and get out of it at the other side. Aaron asked the lady if she had seen the attacker. She didn't, but she was sure it was someone who knew she'd just received a huge inheritance. The detective needed to talk to 3 people. There were Mrs. Stevenson's son, Terry, her granddaughter, Gloria, and her niece, Judy. Terry said, "These days I've been very busy. Something urgent came up at work. I don't even have time to leave my room to go to breakfast or dinner." Gloria asked Aaron to keep her secret. She was seeing a waiter she'd met at a beach cafe. If her relatives found out, they would be furious. And Judy told Aaron she'd taken a car to go shopping to the city center. Who is lying? Terry. The man looks sunburned. How can it be if he hasn't left his room for days? Aaron suspected one guest was involved in the newest criminal scheme of the hotel owners. He started to follow the man, watching his every step. At night, the detective would climb the tree growing next to the man's room and check if he was doing something fishy. One night, he saw the man tossing and turning in his bed for hours. He must be up to no good, Aaron thought. As if on cue, the man picked up the receiver, dialed some number, waited for a while, and hung up without saying a word. Soon after that, he fell asleep. What was the whole thing about? Someone was snoring loudly in the room next to his, but the phone ringing woke up the person who was snoring, and the man finally managed to fall asleep. Finally, our undercover detective seems to be on the right track. A rich businessman, Mr. Wilson, disappeared from his room. It was rumored he'd come to buy the resort from the current owners. The police questioned 4 suspects and shared this information with Aaron. The businessman's assistant said, "I felt unwell on our way here. I went to my room and as soon as we arrived, took some medicine and fell asleep immediately." The hotel owner said, "We agreed to meet with Mr. Wilson in a conference room, but I got lost while trying to find it. I finally came there, but Mr. Wilson never showed up." Mr. Wilson's wife, who accompanied him on his trip, said, "My husband was going to meet with the hotel owner. I'm not interested in business, so I went to the spa." Who is behind the businessman's disappearance? The hotel owner. How could he get lost in his own hotel? Ethan put a coin into an empty bottle and plugged it tightly with a cork. Then he told his friend he'd remove the coin without breaking the bottle or taking out the cork. And he did it. How? Ethan pushed the cork into the bottle and shook it to make the coin fall out. Jack was about to fail his exam. Luckily, the professor gave him one last chance. The guy had to arrange 4 nines to make them equal 100. He could use any math symbols. How did he do it? Jack figured out the correct answer pretty fast. 99 plus 9 out of 9 equals 100. Christina was dreaming of dating a rich boy from her college. After doing some research, she settled on 3 guys. All of them were nice and interested in her. But the girl needed the richest. Once she saw them having lunch together. After checking what each of them was eating, Christina made her choice. Which guy did she pick? The guy who's eating seafood and avocado. Not only are these products the most expensive, but they're also the healthiest. When do you look at number 2 and say 10? It happens when you look at your wristwatch. You're given 8 eggs. You need to break 2, cook 2, and eat 2. How many eggs will you have in the end? You can break, cook, and eat 2 eggs. It'll leave you with 6 eggs. Julia was angry with her boyfriend. She sent a message to her best friend who lived in Switzerland. In this message, the girl complained about something the guy had done, but her friend sent her a very strange reply. Give, get. Give, get. Give, get. Give, get. What did Julia's friend mean? She wanted to say that Julia should forgive and forget. You're walking through the forest. Suddenly, you see a crossroad and a man standing there. One road leads to the village where criminals live, and the other to a safe place. You don't know whether you could trust this person. You can ask him one question. If the man is a criminal, he'll lie. If he's from the safe place, he'll tell you the truth. Which question should you ask? Where is your village? If the person is innocent, he'll send you to the safe place. If he's a criminal, he'll lie and point to the safe place too. It was Mr. and Mrs. Anderson's wedding anniversary, and everyone was getting ready for the party. Mrs. Anderson wanted to put on a diamond bracelet her husband gave her for their wedding. When she opened her jewelry box, she didn't see the bracelet. Trying not to panic, the woman called her teenage daughters, Joan and Andrea. I've told you 1,000 times not to touch my things, and still, one of you has taken my jewelry again. Joan shouted, I haven't touched your jewelry box. Andrea also denied taking her mom's stuff. Why would I need your bracelet? I've got lots of my own. Which girl is lying? It was Andrea who took the earrings. Mrs. Anderson didn't specify which piece of jewelry was missing. Then how did the girl know it was a bracelet? Can you figure out the answer to this rebus riddle? Mary plus Mary. The answer is summary. 1 out of 9 identical balls is heavier than the others. How can you figure out which one it is after only 2 weighings? You should divide all the balls into 3 groups and weigh 2 of them. That's how you can figure out which group contains the heavy ball. After that, you should pick 2 balls from the heaviest group, weigh 1 of them with the other, and you'll understand which ball of the 3 is the heaviest. And now, the best part, your results. If you got 0 to 5 points, it might be too early to try on your Sherlock's hat. Practice more, pay attention to details, and you'll get there. If your score is 5 to 10 points, you're probably ready to apply for a detective's assistant position. And then, with some more experience, you might even replace your boss one day. And if you got 11 to 15 points, you can easily open your own detective agency. You have a sharp eye for details and amazing logical skills.
Mr. Jones was watching TV when the doorbell rang. It was a guy who introduced himself as Lincoln. He said that he was a member of a volunteer group. They were collecting donations to save the rarest species of dodo birds. But Mr. Jones didn't believe him and called the police. Why? There are no more dodo birds. They went extinct in the 17th century. Arwen, a rich man's only son, visited his cousin Richie. They were talking about sports and drinking tea. Suddenly, Arwen stopped breathing and fell to the floor. Richie called the doctor, who said that Arwen had been poisoned. Detective Callum arrived and started the investigation. Soon, he accused Richie of poisoning his cousin. How did Richie manage to do that? Arwen was the only one who drank his tea sweet. The poison was in the sugar. Eloise was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the table. When the girl returned, she realized someone had stolen her cell phone. She called the police, and they questioned the other 3 students who were in the library at that time. Bernard said, "I left the library right after Eloise. I wanted to get a drink from the vending machine. I didn't touch her things." Beth said, "I was studying the whole time and didn't even see anything." Serenity said, "I was in another part of the library and didn't come close to Eloise's table." Who stole the girl's phone? It was Bernard. He said he'd left to get a drink from the vending machine. But look, there are no drinks in there, only snacks. Samantha and her daughter Avery went to the lake to spend some time together.
Yay!
They found a nice spot and sat down there. A bit later, Samantha remembered she'd left her camera in the car and went to get it. When she returned, her daughter was gone. The woman called the police, and they started to look for the girl. There were 3 people nearby, and the police officers interrogated them all. Benjamin said, "I was walking nearby and saw a girl sitting by the lake, but I didn't do anything to her." Genevieve said she hadn't even seen the girl or her mother. And Victoria said she hadn't seen them either, but she heard someone screaming. Who should the officers arrest? They should arrest Genevieve. Look, she's wearing Avery's scarf. Brian called the police early in the morning. He said that the night before, he and his girlfriend Estelle had been watching a scary movie together. Estelle was afraid to go home, so she stayed at his place. She was having a bad dream with zombies chasing after her, and she didn't wake up in the morning. The guy didn't know what had happened, but the police arrested him, claiming he was guilty. Why? The guy said his girlfriend hadn't woke up in the morning. Then, how did he know what she had been dreaming about? Theodore came from New York to his hometown, Chicago, to spend a week with his father. 3 days later, the father called the police and said his son had poisoned himself. The police examined Theodore's things to check if there was anything suspicious. After that, they took the father to the police station for further interrogation. What seemed suspicious to them? The officers found a return ticket from Chicago to New York. Theodore wouldn't have bought this ticket if he hadn't been planning to return to New York. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. And you know what? She got lost again. After wandering around for a couple of hours, she finally found the witch's house. Esme asked the witch to show her the way back home. The witch wanted to make Esme her maid, but she had a problem. She was planning a vacation and wanted to go fishing. Her fishing rod was 13 feet long, and one was only allowed to take things no longer than 12 feet on the train. The witch promised Esme that if the girl found a solution, she'd let her go. What can Esme recommend? Esme was very good at geometry. She advised the witch to put the rod in a 12 by 5 foot box. Diagonally, it fit perfectly. On a Sunday evening, Mrs. Collins was having tea at her friend's house. Her friend suddenly said that she had seen one of Mrs. Collins' daughters in the mall that day. Mrs. Collins got angry because all of the girls were grounded. She asked which daughter it was, but her friend couldn't tell. She wasn't wearing her glasses when she was at the mall. When Mrs. Collins returned home, she asked the girls what they had been doing the whole day. Abigail said she'd spent the day reading. Brianna said she had stayed at school after classes to study a bit more. Charlotte said that she had been practicing for her upcoming piano concert. Who lied? Brianna. It's Sunday. There's no school. A young girl, Tenley, was brought to the hospital after being poisoned. But the examination showed that Tenley hadn't eaten or drunk anything that day. Her sister, Kennedy, said she didn't know anything about the accident. Tenley's friend, Ruby, said, "We were at school when Tenley felt bad." Tenley's boyfriend, Archie, said, "I haven't even talked to her today." How was Tenley poisoned, and who did it? The girl hasn't eaten anything, but she has some lipstick on. That's what contains poison. And the only person who had access to Tenley's room that day was her sister, Kennedy. There was a car accident in a tunnel. The police suspected that one of the drivers, Owen, had fallen asleep behind the wheel. But Owen denied it. "I just couldn't see well because of the rainstorm," he said. The police didn't believe him and immediately arrested the man. Why? The accident happened in a tunnel. It couldn't rain there. Someone in the town was stealing cars. Every time a car disappeared, its owner would get a message from an anonymous number. In each message, there were 2 emojis that didn't make any sense. The police tracked the number, and the geolocation led to 3 houses. They questioned the owners, Mr. Walson, Mrs. Coleman, and Mr. Woolridge. Can you tell who the car thief is? The emojis seem to make sense after all. They're a wall and a father with a son. Combine them and you'll get Walson. So Mr. Walson must be the one stealing cars. Now let's play the game Who's Less Smart? It's early morning. Tom and Joseph are driving their teenage children to school. Who is not smart? Joseph. His son is not in the car. His father has probably forgotten about the poor guy. Annie and Emma are volunteering in an animal shelter. Annie is feeding the cats, and Emma is washing the dogs. Who is not smart here? Annie. She's giving dog food to the cats. Logan and Anthony are both having job interviews at 4 p.m. Logan is packing some food, and Anthony is ironing his best suit. Who's not smart? Anthony. Look at the clock. The interview is going to start in 5 minutes, and he's still at home. Logan is at home too, but there's still another hour till his interview begins. Noelle and Gabriella are cleaning the house. Noelle is listening to music while vacuum cleaning the living room, and Gabrielle is washing the windows. Who is not being smart? Noelle. The vacuum cleaner isn't plugged in. Skylar and Autumn are both going on summer vacation. Skylar is going to Spain, and Autumn is visiting her sister in Chile. Who is not smart? Autumn. She's packing shorts and swimwear, but she won't need them because it's winter in Chile. Both Josh and Amelia didn't sleep well because their neighbor's dog had been barking all night. Amelia asked Josh to take out the trash while she was making some coffee for them. Who is not smart? Josh. Instead of the trash, he's taken out the bags with old toys they've collected to donate. Janine and Teresa are making dinner for their families. Who is not smart? Well, they both have a problem. Janine is putting out a fire with water, and Teresa has a mouse in her kitchen and an ant in the dough. Penny was alone in a hotel room. All of a sudden, somebody knocked on the door and a man came into the room. But when he saw Penny, he apologized and said he must have entered the wrong room. As soon as he went out, Penny called the police. Why? Penny thought something was wrong because the man knocked on the door before entering. If he really believed it was his room, he wouldn't have knocked. He must have done it to check if there was someone in the room. 4 people are sitting at a table next to you in a cafe. There's a man, Jason, and 3 women, Rosie, Sarah, and Claire. Can you guess which woman is his wife? Even though Sarah's wearing an outfit that looks very much like the one Jason's wearing, she's not his wife. She doesn't have a ring. Claire has no ring either, but Rosie has a matching one. A detective got an anonymous email about an upcoming heist in one of New York's museums. In order to stop it from happening, he needs to know the month the heist is planned for. Later, the police managed to find a clue. It was a note with a secret code. The police couldn't crack it, so they brought it to the detective. What month is the heist planned for? The detective cracked the code almost immediately. A jar in the picture stands for J, a ukulele stands for U, a nugget stands for N, and an eggplant stands for E. Ah, June! There are 12 floors in the apartment building. The higher the floor, the more people live there. Which floor does the elevator go to most often? It's the first floor. The residents of all floors go down to the first floor. The other day, Annabelle was rummaging around her auntie's attic when she accidentally stumbled upon 5 short chains, each made of 4 silver links. She thought it could be great if she combined them all into one big chain of 20 links. When she went back to town, she brought those tiny chains to a jeweler. He told her it would cost $5 for each silver link that he would have to break and then reseal. How much will the chain cost? Annabelle could do that for $25 if she told the jeweler to break a link in each chain. But she was really smart, so she asked the jeweler to break all 4 links in one chain and use them to attach the other chains together, which cost her $20. One day, Stephanie got lost in the woods, and no wonder, in the end she stumbled upon an old witch's house. The door cracked open and she came in. The witch turned out to be really kind and promised Stephanie to make her one dream come true if she cracks a riddle. Stephanie was dreaming of a new phone, so she agreed. The witch asked, if 11 plus 3 equals 2, what does 8 plus 6 equal? It took Stephanie quite a while to come up with an answer, but she nailed it. What was the answer? $11 plus 3 equals 2 o'clock. 8 o'clock plus 6 equals 2 o'clock too. Hop on the bright side of life together with our brand new tees, hoodies, and more. Click the link to pick your choice. You're getting hungry and want to boil a 2-minute egg. If you only have a 3-minute hourglass timer, a 4-minute hourglass timer, and a 5-minute hourglass timer, how can you boil the egg for only 2 minutes? When you see the water boiling, turn the 3-minute timer and 5-minute timer over. When the 3-minute timer runs out, you need to put the egg in the boiling water. You'll have 2 minutes on the 5-minute hourglass timer, and when it finishes, take the egg out of the water and enjoy your meal. Mr. Wright had a small store in Chicago called 5 Flags, but there were 6 flags hanging outside. He could easily correct that mistake, but he didn't. Can you figure out the reason? At first, it was just a mistake. But later, Mr. Wright noticed that people would often come to his store to tell about that problem, which increased his sales. A wise king realized he was tired of all the hard work he had to do, so he decided to find someone who could replace him. He decided to make a challenge, and the one who nails it will become the new king. Anyone who wanted to take the throne needed to put a whole cucumber into a glass bottle without cutting the cucumber or damaging the bottle. The participants had a week to do it. This challenge seemed to be impossible, so only 5 people decided to take part, and there was only one winner. How did he put the cucumber in the bottle? He placed a baby cucumber still on its stem into the bottle. Cucumbers grow rather fast, so he had enough time to win that competition. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? Nope, in 72 hours it's going to be night again. You see a bathtub filled with water. You have a spoon, a cup, and a bucket. Which will you choose to empty the bathtub? Obviously, choose to pull out the plug. Allison majored in math at university. Her roommates wanted to test her intelligence. They took 3 envelopes and wrote short messages on them. Then they put the answers to Allison's exam questions in one of the envelopes. Only one envelope had a truthful message written on it. The other 2 were false. Allison wasn't allowed to open the envelopes and could only pick one. The first message read, "There are no exam answers here." The second was, "The exam answers are here." And the third message read, "The exam answers aren't in the second envelope." Which envelope should Allison pick? The third one. It tells the truth, which means the exam answers are in the first envelope. Joanna and Josh were on their honeymoon in France. On the first day, they went on a city tour around Paris and left all their stuff in the hotel room. When they came back, someone was standing outside their door trying to get in. The couple called the receptionist right away, but the man claimed Joanna and Josh owed him some money for the tours they had taken in the past 4 days. The receptionist knew the man was lying right away. How did he figure it out? It was the couple's first day in the hotel. Russell and Anna were on vacation. One day, Anna told Russell she couldn't go to the beach with him because she was feeling unwell. When Russell came back to the room to grab his phone, Anna was gone. He found her by the pool and asked, "Are you here alone?" She nodded, but Russell immediately realized she was lying. How? There were 2 soda pops on her table and 2 fruit platters. Apparently, this was also going to be Russell and Anna's last vacation together. Gregory was on a mission to take some nature photos for his blog. As he was walking through the forest, he fell into a deep pit. He tried to climb out of it, but in vain. When he held onto one rock, it gave away, and water started to pour inside. The pit was filling fast. Gregory saw a deflated ball, an empty barrel, and a piece of wooden board. What should he use to get out of the pit? Well, the deflated ball is too small and has a slit in its side. The wooden board won't support his weight. The best option is the empty barrel. It'll keep Gregory afloat. Paul and Pauline left for their honeymoon and asked their neighbor to look after their house. When they returned, the woman found out that she had lost all her expensive jewelry because of a power outage. The woman had hidden her jewelry in a supposed safe place. The house wasn't robbed. The neighbor was an honest person. The jewelry got lost by accident. What happened? The wife had hid her jewelry in the freezer in a bag with frozen food. After the power failure, all the food spoiled. The kind-hearted neighbor decided to help and threw away all the bad food, together with the jewelry. There's a barrel of water in the yard. You look inside and say that it's more than half full, but your friend argues it's less than half full. How can you figure out who's right without using any measuring tools or removing water from the barrel? Tilt the barrel so that the water touches its rim. If you can see the bottom, the barrel's less than half full. If the bottom is still covered with water, it's more. Mark, Jim, and Bob work as managers in the same office. One day, one of them is fired, and one gets a promotion. The remaining manager wants to resign at first, but then changes his mind. You know that the one who's fired is older than the rest and single. Jim's younger than the manager who has decided to stay at work, and he doesn't know Bob's wife. Who's fired? It's not Jim because he's younger than the manager who stays. It's also not Bob because he's married. It means that Mark has been fired, Jim has got a promotion, and Bob has decided to stay in his position. I can dig caves, but I don't need a shovel to do it. I store silver and gold in these caves. I can build bridges, and I can make golden crowns. Everyone needs me at least once in a lifetime, but most people are scared of me. Who am I? I'm a dentist. The mystery of growth. When Mike was 15 years old, he hammered a nail into a cherry tree in his grandmother's garden. He wanted to mark his height. 10 years later, he returned to see if the nail was any higher. If the tree grew 1 inch taller each year, how much higher would the nail be? The nail's position wouldn't change. Trees grow at their top. An orange riddle. Jenny was locked inside a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and everyone inside. To do it, they didn't need to turn their heads or bodies or move in any way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it, but how? She put the orange on one person's head. Which one is more expensive? Eric went to the supermarket and took 2 oranges and 1 watermelon. They cost him $6. Helen went to the same supermarket. She opted for a lemon, an orange, and a watermelon. The girl paid $8. Oranges, lemons, and watermelons have different prices per piece. What's more expensive, an orange or a lemon? Eric had 2 oranges and a watermelon, which cost him $6. These 2 kinds of fruit have different prices, so it can't be 2 + 2 + 2. The only other combination is 1 + 1 + 4. Then, a watermelon costs $4. Helen paid $4 for the watermelon and $1 for the orange. It means the lemon cost her $3, which makes it more expensive than the orange. The worried wife. Jason got into a car accident and lost his memory. When he came around in his hospital room, he saw 3 young women near his bed, but the man couldn't remember who they were. Each of them claimed to be his wife. The doctor told him Jason had to stay in the hospital for at least 1 more week. "Sweetheart, what am I supposed to do if you never remember me?" The woman on the left was sobbing bitterly. "Honey, I'm so worried. Let's go home. I don't like it here. I'll take better care of you at home," the one in the middle exclaimed. The girl on the right was furious. "They're trying to steal you from me. Let's leave this place right away." Which lady is the man's wife? She's the one on the left. She's the only one who's worried. The other two want to take Jason away from the hospital, but he's injured and needs medical care. The inheritance. Jim's uncle Archibald was a wealthy man who loved playing pranks on his relatives. That's why, when he passed away, no one could find his will. But one day, a few years later, Jim was looking through some old papers. Suddenly, his breath caught in his throat. The document he was holding was his uncle's will. It read, "I hid all my money and other valuables at 3 p.m. sharp under my favorite cherry tree, right where its shadow ends. The one who digs it out will be my heir." Jim was beyond happy. He was going to be wealthy. He drove to his uncle's posh villa and found the cherry tree. He waited till 3 p.m. and started to dig. But try as he might, his efforts didn't pay off. Confused and upset, he had to return home. Why didn't he find anything? It's been several years since Jim's uncle hid his valuables. The tree has grown taller, and its shadow has become longer too. Who's poor? These two girls are putting on their makeup and getting ready to go out and have fun. They're using pretty much the same things: lipsticks, cosmetics, clothes. Their phones look similar too. But one of these girls is poor. Who is it? Take a closer look at the girl on the left. Her phone gives her away. It's an obvious knockoff. But then again, she saves some money. She won't be poor for long. Who is it? Mark and Liza had been dating for 2 years. One day, the guy came to his girlfriend's house. He was going to propose to her. But when he made it there, he found Liza with another man. Mark was furious. The other guy got scared and rushed out of the house. Liza was shouting it was her brother, but Mark knew better. Unfortunately, he hadn't seen the guy's face clearly. When he ran outside, he saw 3 men. Which one is Liza's lover? It's the guy on the left. It's freezing outside, and the other 2 guys have red cheeks and noses. But the third guy's face is pale because he just left a warm house. A weird choice. Every day, Mark rides his bike to the railway station to get to the college. There are 2 stops near his home. One is a mile away from his house, and the other 2 miles away in the opposite direction. In the morning, he always gets on the train at the first stop, and in the afternoon, he gets off at the second. Why? Mark's home and the stations are on the hill, and this method allows the guy to ride his bike down without any effort. A money problem. A notorious criminal caught rich businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then, how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. A realization. 3 friends fell asleep under a tree in the countryside. While they were resting, a boy painted mustaches on their faces. Once the men woke up, they started to laugh. But then, all of a sudden, they stopped. Why? At first, they saw the mustaches on their friends' faces and found it funny. But then, they realized their friends were laughing too. It meant they had mustaches on their faces as well. Wealthier grandfather. Aaron and his grandfather were very close. They spent a lot of time together and loved cracking detective riddles. Unfortunately, the elderly man passed away unexpectedly. His lawyer informed the relatives that the grandfather had hidden all his money, and he was a wealthy man. The one to find it would get all the inheritance. Aaron realized the grandfather wanted him to get everything. He ran to the elderly man's office and soon understood where to look for the money. Can you figure it out? There's a cross drawn on the picture with a fountain. That's the fountain from their garden. Aaron has to look for the money there. Trapped in a well. James was a famous detective who could crack even the trickiest mysteries. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old and deep, but luckily not filled with water. On the flip side, there was no way the detective could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Stolen documents. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It was on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to his friend's office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he'd spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason took his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse was invited to a party. It didn't take Ashton long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Real or fake? Paul decided to visit his elderly aunt he hadn't seen for several months. But when he got to her house, he saw 2 men wearing construction worker uniforms. They were moving out some furniture. "What are you doing here?" Paul asked. "Mrs. Sanders hired us to help her get rid of old furniture. We're from Pick and Carry Transport Company," one of the men answered. He sounded honest. But Paul was a smart guy. He felt there was something wrong about the whole situation. Suddenly, he realized the men were burglars. How did he understand it? There was no company van near his aunt's house, just a dark car with tinted windows. Plus, why were the men wearing construction worker uniforms if they were movers? Once, a prison guard accidentally overheard very disturbing rumors. Someone was planning a prison break. The guard watched all the footage from the surveillance cameras and discovered that 2 women had been behaving suspiciously. One of them was a former bodybuilder, muscular, with short hair and covered in tattoos. The other was quiet and reserved. She preferred to spend time on her own and sometimes cried in her cell. After watching the video several times, the guard figured out which woman was planning to escape. Can you do the same? It's the second prisoner. There's a file in her bun. She can use it to get through the metal bars. Mark comes up to the table. There are 3 apples, but only one of them is safe to eat. The other 2 are poisonous. Unfortunately, Mark can't skip breakfast. So, which apple should he eat? Look, this apple has a caterpillar in it. It means there's no poison in the fruit and it's safe to eat. These 3 women, Jessica, Mary, and Olivia, went shopping. 2 of them are pregnant and one is just trying to steal a watermelon. Can you tell which one is hiding a watermelon? It's Olivia. She's wearing heels. It's not the kind of shoes a pregnant woman would choose to wear. Nathan, a successful entrepreneur with a multi-million-dollar business, and his friend Jackson, a famous private detective, returned from a long-term trip abroad. They decided to stop by at Nathan's villa on the way to the city. When the men entered the house, though, they saw that everything more or less valuable had been taken away. The entire villa was a mess. "I've only been away for a month. What happened here?" exclaimed Nathan. Jackson took an apple from the dining room table and started to munch on it thoroughly. The lock isn't broken. It means the person who took your stuff had the key. After a while, the detective asked Nathan to invite 3 people. Mia, Nathan's niece, told Jackson she hadn't visited her uncle's home. She had been having serious problems with her car for already 2 months. And the villa was too far away from the city to get there by public transport. Sarah, the maid, claimed that she had stopped by several weeks ago to bring some food and tidy up, but since then she hadn't been to the villa. Adam, the gardener, told the detective he had been on vacation and had just returned. He even offered to show his plane tickets to Jackson. The detective figured out immediately who was behind the mess. You have 8 seconds to figure it out. It was the maid. She said she brought food several weeks ago, but the apple Jackson grabbed from the table was perfectly fresh. Once, Ms. White heard someone crying. It was her little student, Abigail. The girl told the teacher her cookies had been disappearing from her locker. Someone had been taking them for already several weeks, but Abigail didn't know who. Ms. White decided to help the girl. They equipped the locker with a simple alarm that had to go off if someone who wasn't Abigail opened the door. They hid behind the corner and began waiting. In 10 minutes, they heard the alarm. When they reached the locker, it was already empty and there was no one nearby. But Ms. White noticed somebody disappear behind the art room door. She rushed inside, but everything looked normal. And still, the teacher needed no more than a minute to understand who had been eating Abigail's cookies. Look at the picture of the art room carefully. Can you find out the answer within 8 seconds? It's the girl on the left. Her painting's black and white, but there are only various shades of blue on her palette. And maybe the cookie crumbs are a giveaway too. I don't know. One perfume company hires new staff. They must swear an oath of loyalty to the company if they want to get a job. 10 people are saying the words of the corporate oath simultaneously, but some of them are cheating. Help the directors figure out who these people are. This guy keeps his fingers crossed, and the man on the left is standing with his legs crossed. They won't be loyal to the company, so the director doesn't hire them. 2 influential media moguls are having lunch at an expensive restaurant. They're discussing the merger of their companies. The transaction amount is several $billion. They're whispering since the terms of this deal are top secret, and they suspect that someone can hear them. And they're right. Some curious people are eavesdropping on the conversation between the two businessmen. Try to find them. The girl at the next table is reading a newspaper that is turned upside down. She's obviously trying to overhear what the billionaires are talking about. This guy over there is listening to music, but the headphone wire is not connected to anything. Another girl is sitting at the table in the corner with a cocktail, but instead of an umbrella, there's an antenna in her glass. She's recording the conversation. "Where are my employees?" a boss shouts. He's furious because 3 people haven't come to the office. He calls each of them to find out the reason. All 3 tell him they got ill. The boss doesn't believe them, so they have to arrive at the office. Mary is wearing a warm jacket, hat, and scarf. She sneezes, coughs, and looks sick. Lori is walking on crutches. Her leg is in a cast. Sometime later, Michael appears. He's got a hand injury, and now he can't type. The boss is sure that one of them is faking. Who is it? Mike's left arm is broken, but his phone is in his left pocket. He must have used his broken arm to put it there, which means he's pretending. Apparently, he just didn't want to come to work. Ice will melt if you heat it, but if you heat me, I'll become solid. What am I? I'm an egg. You buy this thing to eat, but you never eat it. What is it? It's a plate. Mia was going back home one evening. It was 11 p.m., and she had to cross a small dark park in front of her house. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind. Someone grabbed her bag and ran away. The girl called the police, and they questioned 4 suspects. Jack said, "I was choosing an outfit for a party." Camilla was getting ready for her final exam at home. Andrew told the police he had been watching birds in the park. Nora was at her yoga class. After the interview, the police understood who was behind the robbery. Can you? It was Andrew. At 11 p.m., it's too dark to see birds. James left a folder with important documents on the table in his home office and went to a business meeting. When he returned, he found out that the documents had disappeared. James had 3 suspects. His brother said, "I've been swimming in the pool since you left. I haven't seen or heard anything." The cook replied, "Tomorrow we're having a party. I've been preparing the food." The security guard told James, "I've been outside all this time, checking the garden for mice." Who knows where the documents are? It's the security guard. His job description doesn't include pest control. An accident happened at a busy crossroads in a small town. A driver who caused the crash left in a hurry. Luckily, several witnesses managed to describe the car. A police officer headed to the suspect's house. There, he saw a car that looked exactly like the one from the description, but its owner claimed that he had spent all day at home. The police officer knew the suspect was lying in no time. How? He touched the car hood. It was still hot from the engine that had worked not so long ago. You're walking along a railroad track. Suddenly, you see a speedy train approaching you. Instead of getting off the track immediately, you run toward the train. Why do you risk your life this way? When you notice the train, you're on a bridge. You can't leave the track right away and have to run to the closest place where you can do it.
Two best friends, Emily and Luna, came to a popular and expensive hair salon. At first, the administrator told the girls they had just one available hairstylist. But after making a phone call, she happily announced she had found another hairdresser. Emily and Luna could have their hair done at the same time. But in the process, it dawned on the girls that one of the hairstylists was fake. Which one? Hairstylists are using regular scissors, but instead of hairspray, the one on the left is holding a can of bug spray. Yeah, that's a big clue right there. Mary and her younger brother Alex were mushroom hunting in the forest. They started to quarrel. So Alex got angry and ran away. After several minutes, Mary rushed after him. She was still fuming but also worried. Soon, the girl reached a small river. A man was sitting on the shore. "Did you see a teenager here?" Mary asked. "Yep, he's just taken a boat and made it to the other side." But Mary didn't believe the man. Why? The boat is indeed on the other side, but the paddles are lying next to the man. How could the boy cross the river without them? Three prisoners are sitting at a table having dinner, but one of them is wealthy. Can you guess who it is? It's not the guy with the steak and shrimps. The little tag on his shirt reveals he's a chef, and he likes to prepare a special treat for himself. The guy with the jewels shows that he's well off, but in prison, jewelry is basically worthless. It's the third guy. Wealthy people try to keep a low profile in prison, not to be targeted by others. That's why he doesn't flash any valuable possessions or his status. It's Friday and all the students have gathered in a big lecture hall to take the end of term exam. The teacher has been informed that one student is going to cheat. Can you tell which one? Pay attention to every detail. It's student C. It looks as if he's trying to remember what he's read, but he has all the answers written on his hand. Marta was walking through the park near her home in the evening. It was dark and there was nobody around. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind and they bolted away. Marta took off after them. She was pretty sure this person was a woman, but she couldn't make out her appearance or clothes. When Marta ran inside, she saw three teachers. The girl looked at them attentively and soon figured out which one of them had taken her bag. Can you do the same? The woman in the middle wouldn't be able to run away with a cast on her leg. The one on the right doesn't have anything in her hands. Where would she hide Marta's bag so quickly? But the woman on the left has a big shopper bag on her shoulder. A real teacher wouldn't need to carry it in the classroom, so she was definitely the one who took the bag. Jonathan sneaked out of the house late in the evening to meet his girlfriend. The teenager thought he was extremely careful and quiet, but his whole family knew about his plan. They were aware the guy would return at midnight, so they decided to make a bet. The one who would see Nathan first when the guy started climbing the fence would be the winner. The prize would be no chores for them for 1 week. So as to not fall asleep, Nathan's dad switched on the TV. The teen's grandfather settled in the living room to read a book. The grandmother went to the kitchen to make a pizza, and Nathan's mom went to her room, sat down on the floor, and started to meditate. Who's going to be the first to spot Nathan when the time comes? Nathan's mom. Her eyes will be used to the darkness, and she will see better than the others. Look at this picture closely and try to figure out who's from the future. Well, I'm pretty sure there was no flashlights in the Stone Age, so it has to be this guy here. Down in the Sea Kingdom, Stacy met Neptune. He was sitting on his throne, surrounded by 3 mermaids. Neptune asked Stacy to return the pearl necklace to his wife, who had recently lost it. Luke happened to have found the necklace on the shore. Can you guess which mermaid is Neptune's wife so Luke can give it back to her? It's the third one. She's the only one who's wearing an engagement ring. Lisa was a famous top model. She was found unconscious in her dressing room during a photo shoot and taken to a hospital. Doctors said she had a severe allergic reaction, but when Lisa came to her senses, she insisted she hadn't eaten anything all day. The model's manager was very concerned and interrogated everyone who'd been around. Lisa's stylist said that she had applied Lisa's makeup and indeed hadn't seen her eat anything. The cleaning lady said she had cleaned the dressing room with organic, non-allergenic products. Lisa's main rival, Nora, said that she'd been watching the shooting all day long. She hadn't noticed anything suspicious. Who's the culprit? It was the stylist. Lipstick was the only thing Lisa could have swallowed that day. In the middle of the night, Dennis woke up because of a loud crash. One of the kids must have been out, but they know they aren't allowed to leave at night. The man went to check on the children. All three of them, Catherine, Ruth, and Larry, seemed to be sleeping peacefully. Look at the kids and try to figure out who sneaked out of the house. It was Ruth. There's a dirty sneaker hidden behind the curtain and several pieces of French fries under her bed. Brenda was traveling by train. It was scorching hot in the carriage. The girl took off her gold bracelet decorated with diamonds and put it on the table in front of her. Several minutes later, the train entered a tunnel, and it got pitch dark. When the tunnel was left behind, there was no bracelet on the table. Brenda was shocked. "Someone's taken my bracelet!" There were just 3 other people in the compartment. Helen said she'd been sleeping. Rachel was reading a book on her phone, and Gregory had gone to the bathroom even before the train entered the tunnel. Who took the bracelet? It was Helen. At first, she had her sleeves rolled up, but now they're covering her arms down to the wrists, hiding the bracelet. Sarah bought some ice cream on Saturday, but kept the flavors in secret. When she woke up on Sunday, all the ice cream was gone. She asked everyone in the house if they knew anything about it. James answered he had gone to work early that morning and hadn't seen anything. Mary said she wanted to have the new caramel ice cream in the afternoon. She felt bad she was going to miss it. John didn't even know there was ice cream in the house, but he was looking forward to trying it. Can you figure out who knows something? It's Mary. The ice cream flavors were a secret. She couldn't be sure there was a caramel taste among them. Can you tell who's a real mermaid here? The second one is a guy, so he definitely isn't a mermaid. The girl on the right is chilling in the sun, and she's out of the water. Mermaids wouldn't do that because they dry out in the sun. So the real mermaid must be the one on the left. There were some thefts at the supermarket. There were 3 cases in total, in January, April, and June. The security camera recorded these videos. The security officer tried to have a closer look and suddenly noticed one detail. After that, the identity of the thief became clear. What did he notice? It was the pregnant woman. The attentive security officer noticed that in January, she looked about 6 to 7 months pregnant. In June, she looked the same. Seems like it's the mysterious case of the baby bump that was really a canned ham. One day, a thief decided to rob the local bank. He came up with a brilliant plan to dress up as one of the bank tellers and try to sneak into the vault. As he was approaching the vault, he saw a security guard standing right in front of the door. The robber hadn't anticipated this, so he hid and watched the guard carefully when one of the actual bank tellers walked up to the door. The security guard said 12. The worker answered 6 and got in. Then another teller came up to the vault. When the security guard said 6, the person answered 3 and was granted access. The thief nonchalantly walked up to the security guard when the guard said 10. The robber confidently answered 5. He was arrested immediately. So why was the thief's answer wrong, and what could he have answered instead? The response has to do with the number of letters in the word. 12 has 6 letters, so the answer is 6. 6 in turn has 3 letters, so the answer is 3. Well, you can see by now that the robber should have said 3. Looks like he wasn't as brilliant as he thought.
You ready? Here's another brain-busting workout for you. And off we go. After classes, Margot was studying in the library. At one point, she left for the bathroom. When the girl returned, she found out her wallet was gone. Margot immediately called the police. The librarian said she'd seen some guy, but she had poor eyesight and couldn't remember what he looked like. After listening to her vague description, the police officers questioned 3 students. Owen said he had been studying and hadn't even left his desk until the police arrived. Finn said he'd seen the girl but never really paid attention to her. He was looking for some books. Lucas said he'd been busy talking to his friend on the phone. He hadn't seen anything. Can you figure out who stole the wallet? It was Luca. He said he'd been talking on the phone, but it's prohibited in the library. If he had used his phone, he'd have been immediately kicked out. So he's lying. During a casual walk deep in the forest, Esme got lost. After hours of wandering, she saw a witch's house. Esme asked the elderly woman to show her the way back. The witch refused, but she was in a good mood and offered a deal. She gave Esme 3 apples. 2 of them were poisoned and 1 was okay to eat. The girl had to pick 1 apple and bite into it. If she didn't get poisoned, the witch would show her the way home. Esme was a smart girl and managed to do it. How did she know which apple to pick? In one apple, there was a worm, which means it was safe to eat. A student was having an exam and he was about to fail it. The professor decided to give him one more chance and asked the last question. It was, "What's my oldest daughter's name?" The student was puzzled. The professor decided the question was too hard and gave the guy a hint. He wrote down 3 numbers, 58, 3, and 11. Can you help the student answer the question? It's a chemistry class. The riddle must be related to this subject. Have a look at the periodic table. The 58th element is cerium, or Ce. The 3rd element is lithium, Li. And the 11th element is sodium, or Na. If you put all of them together, you'll get the name Selena. The professor liked the game. When another student was struggling with his task, he gave him another puzzle. The man said, "I have daughters. All of them, except 2, have dark hair. All of them, except 2, have blonde hair. And all of them, except 2, have red hair. How many daughters do I have?" Can you help the student out? This time, the riddle has nothing to do with chemistry. Pure logic. The professor has 3 daughters. One of them has dark hair, the second is blonde, and the 3rd daughter has red hair. Ben was walking in the park at night when someone knocked him out and stole all his stuff. The guy went to the police. 3 people, Cole, Jerry, and Bernard, were in the park at that time. They got arrested. The detective gave each of them a marker and asked them to write their names on the whiteboard. As soon as they finished, he immediately arrested the right person. Who was guilty, and how did the detective find it out? It was Jerry. Ben was hit from the right. It means the person who did it was left-handed. Among the three suspects, that's only Jerry. Really? Ben and Jerry? I think I need some ice cream. A member of an expedition to the South Pole found himself in a frozen cave. He didn't remember what had happened, but he knew he had to get out. The man saw 3 doors and a note saying what was behind each of them. Behind the first door, there was a hungry polar bear. Behind the second door, there was a room filled with poisonous gas. And behind the third, there was a room with sharp icicles falling from the ceiling every second. Which door should the man choose to survive? He should pick the first door. He's at the South Pole. There are no polar bears there. After classes, Nora stayed at the university. She needed to finish her project. She was sitting in the hallway. Soon she got hungry. The girl went to grab some food and left all her stuff behind. When Nora returned, she checked her things and called the police. She told them what had happened and reported her wallet stolen. There were 3 other students nearby. All of them were questioned. Kennedy said she had been texting her friends. Ethan said, "I did sit close to Nora for a while, but I didn't see or touch her wallet." Gabriella said she had been in the classroom and just walked out a couple minutes before. The detective listened to them and left without arresting anyone. Why? The detective remembered that Nora had gone to get some food. It means the wallet was with her and couldn't be stolen. The girl lied. 3 women, Sarah, Milla, and Eleanor, went shopping. 2 of them are pregnant, and 1 is a professional watermelon thief. Yeah, I know, but just humor me. Can you tell which one stole the watermelon? It's Milla. She's wearing heels. It's not the kind of shoes pregnant women would wear. Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She often took long walks in the forest alone. One day, she saw a huge mansion. It was obvious no one lived there, so she entered the house. It was dusty inside, but still beautiful. Aurora took some pictures and left the place. When the girl came back home, she looked through her photos. She wanted to pick the best ones to post on her social media, but then she saw one of the photos and screamed. Take a careful look at this photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed she, herself, was in the photo. But it's impossible. She was alone in the house. Stella and Adeline were sisters. Their grandmother once presented Adeline a bracelet. But both girls loved this piece of jewelry very much. So sometimes Stella snuck into her sister's room and borrowed the bracelet. One day, Adeline came home and noticed the bracelet was gone. She knocked on her sister's door. Stella opened the door, realized it was her sister, and shut it again. In a couple of minutes, Adeline managed to break into the room. She started searching for the bracelet. Stella told her that this time she hadn't taken Adeline's jewelry. Adeline didn't find anything and had to leave. But on her way out, she remembered something and managed to get her bracelet back. Where was it? When Stella opened the door, she had her hair down. But later, she already had her hair tied up. In those few minutes, she made a bun and hid the bracelet in her hair. On a rainy summer night, Mrs. Miller came home after work. Her neighbor, Mrs. Smith, visited her. The women wanted to have some tea together. Mrs. Smith said her daughter was at a party. She met one of Mrs. Miller's triplet sons there. Mrs. Miller asked which one it was, but her friend didn't know. Her daughter could never tell the guys apart. The problem was all 3 of them were grounded and weren't allowed to go out until the next week. Mrs. Miller wanted to find out who had broken the rules. She called the boys and asked how they'd spent the day. Ian, the artist, said, "In the evening, I was outside drawing." Ryan, the musician, said, "I spent all day inside writing a new song." Luke, who likes sports, said, "I did a workout and spent the rest of the day reading." Mrs. Miller understood which of her sons was lying and grounded him for another month. Who's the liar, and how did she know? Ian lied. He said he'd been drawing outside, but it was raining. Another day, another walk in the forest, and Esme got lost again. And still, she managed to find the way to the witch's house. This time, the woman had another task for Esme. The witch gave Esme a candy bar and a knife. She was going to perform 7 tricks. After each of them, Esme had to give her 1/7 of the bar. But there was a catch. The knife was magical and could only make 2 cuts. It was also impossible to break the bar or cut it without the knife. How did Esme fulfill these conditions and return home? Esme made 2 cuts, dividing the bar into the following pieces: 1/7, 2/7, and 4/7. After the first trick, she gave the witch the 1/7 piece. After the second one, the girl offered the woman the 2/7 piece and took away the 1/7. After the third trick, she gave the witch the smallest piece back. After the fourth trick, Esme took away the first 2 pieces and gave the woman the 4/7 piece. Then she gave her the smallest piece again. After the sixth trick, the girl took away the 1/7 and gave the witch the 2/7 piece. And after the last trick, she gave the woman the smallest part of the bar again. Bonus question. Hey, if Esme is so smart, how come she keeps getting trapped in the forest? I have no answer.
Phantoms and other fantastic creatures! You're not impressed. All your life you've been running a myth-busting blog. It's gotten pretty popular recently. Abandoned hospitals, creepy hotel rooms, haunted apartments, cursed houses. You spend a night in all of them and take a bunch of videos to prove that all those scary stories are nothing more than fairy tales. One day, one of your fans sends you a tip about a sinister, dark castle located on a rocky cliff near the coast of a raging ocean. She says this place is the scariest in the world, but you're not intimidated easily. You grab your phone and head on over. Get ready to test your courage and resourcefulness. Count how many answers you get right and find out what your score means at the end of the video. Since it's your first night, you decide to spend it in a small village. It's right by the scary castle. Usually, people can't wait to tell you how freaky this or that place is. But in this village, everyone keeps silent. You ask one of the residents to tell you something about the castle, but she responds with nothing. Did she not want to speak to you? No, that's not it. She's afraid of answering. How do you know that? I'll give you 6 seconds to figure it out. Look at her hand. It says "Runaway" on her forearm. To reach the castle, you first need to walk through a small forest. At the edge of it, you see 3 roads and 3 signs. The first sign shows a wolf, the second, a bear, and the third, a vampire. Which road should you choose? You have 5 seconds. Quick, make a decision. You don't believe in vampires, remember? But bears and wolves, those are real. Besides, it's morning, and if vampires were real, they'd be steering clear of the sunlight. You make your way through the dense thickets of the forest and record what's happening on your phone. You notice a hut. Yeah, I bet a vampire lives here, you laugh to yourself. Ha ha! Still, you decide to check it out. Your readers love that kind of stuff. You go into the dark hut and turn on the light on your phone. Cobwebs cover everything. The curtains are drawn. Some candles are out on the table. Ooh, a key. You grab it and put it inside your pocket. Before leaving, you notice a large wooden box in the corner and hear snoring coming from inside. You're scared out of your mind right now. And just then, the snoring stops. A vampire climbs out of the box. Oh, this is bad. Maybe you can get away before it realizes what's going on. You try to get outside, but the door's locked. Oh, the key! Yes! No! It doesn't work! What should you do? Quick, you don't have much time. Just open the curtains. If it really is a vampire, it should be afraid of the sunlight. It worked! The vampire jumps back into the box to escape the light, and you make a break for it through the window. Finally, you reach the edge of the forest and get your first glimpse of the castle. In front of you is a large gate. You push on it. It swings open. As soon as you're in the courtyard, you realize you are not alone. 5 other people are there. They're just standing around. No one's talking to each other. You want to know if they've heard anything about the owner of that creepy hut in the woods, so you walk a little closer. But you get a strange feeling deep in your stomach. Something's wrong with these people. You can't believe your eyes, but it looks like some of them are actual zombies. How many zombies are there? You have 10 seconds. Look closely. There are 2 of them. That guy over there doesn't have an ordinary arm. It's all bones, like a skeleton. And that woman in sunglasses, she's holding someone's eyes in her hand. Are those her eyes? You approach a guy who seems almost normal, but he doesn't look at you. He just keeps staring at the sky. It's a little scary. Okay, time to venture into the castle. As soon as you open the door, you hear music. It's a waltz, and it's coming from the main hall. Several couples are dancing around in 18th century costumes. Yikes. You decide to try and blend in by hitting the dance floor yourself. Well, after a few seconds, you look around and your face turns pale. These people are phantoms. How did you figure it out? Look carefully at the details. You have 5 seconds. Look down. None of the dancers are touching the floor. They're just floating along. You run out of the hall, climb the wide stairs, and run into a random room. You lock the door and breathe heavily. Oh, you're starting to have serious doubts about all this mystical stuff. Maybe it does exist. But how is that even possible? A ray of sunlight suddenly shines on a luxurious bed with beautiful linen. Then it hits you. You're tired. Oh, you'll just lie down on the edge of the bed, and a 10-minute nap will really help get your head on straight. As soon as you close your eyes, though, you hear a rustling in the sheets right next to you. Then you feel a cold hand on your neck. You keep your eyes sealed shut. You're way too afraid to open them, but you pinch yourself to make sure you're not dreaming. The fingers on your neck start squeezing ever so slightly. Oh, that's it. You bolt out of bed. As fast as you can, you whip out your phone and try to record the whatever it was. But there's nothing. Only an empty bed. Were you sleeping, or was it real? You noticed something. Phew. Oh, it's just a bad dream after all. What did you notice? I'll give you 6 seconds. The sun was shining when you lay down. Now, it's the full moon that's shining. You were out cold for a while. You leave the bedroom and walk down a long hallway lit by torches and candles. The silence is broken only by the churning of your stomach. Guess you're hungry. Well, there's a heavy wooden door in front of you, and it's open just a crack. The pleasant smell of food starts wafting its way into the hallway. You go in and find a huge table, decked out with real silverware and porcelain. Oh, the food looks delicious. There's caviar, lobster, fruits, vegetables, different meats, plenty of desserts. Several people are sitting around the table, and as you approach them, they turn around to look at you. They're all vampires! How did you know? I'll give you 5 seconds to figure it out. The food on the table is untouched. The vampires have been waiting for their most important dish. You run. You make it back out into the hallway, then dart down a dark corridor. The vampires are chasing you. They're screaming. You find 3 doors at the end of the corridor. The first one has a fire symbol on it. The second has a snake symbol. And the third just says, exit. You try to open it, but it's locked. The vampires are closing in. What are you gonna do? You have 4 seconds before you become vampire food. Try the key you found in the vampire's hut. Great! It fits! You run out into the courtyard and lock the door behind you. The moon is hidden behind some thick white clouds. You sneak through the courtyard and open the back gate of the castle. Next to the gate is a sign with an image of a werewolf on it. You walk off as quietly as possible. After about 5 minutes, you see a long bridge. There's a beautiful woman standing at the other end. She waves to you and motions for you to come closer. But something's bothering you. Could she be a werewolf? So, you can either cross the bridge or head back to the castle. What can you do to find out if she really is a werewolf? You have 10 seconds for this one. Good luck. Wait until the moon appears from behind the clouds. Your intuition was right. As soon as the moonlight falls on the woman, she begins to turn into a werewolf. Still kind of cute though. You run back into the castle grounds and close the gate behind you. Okay, reality check. You're in the courtyard. Vampires are inside the castle, a werewolf is waiting outside, and zombies are approaching. You're trapped. Why did you even come to such a scary castle? You pull out your phone and start recording a farewell video. You thank your followers for their views and comments. Thanks for subscribing. You admit that mystical creatures do exist and promise that you'll never set foot in a place like this ever again if you survive. The zombies are closing in and the werewolf is breaking down the gate. Oh, awesome. Your fear is gone and you realize that this whole thing is staged. It's all a show. How'd you figure it out? Watch the farewell video again and find the proof that everything is fake. I'll give you 10 seconds to spot the clues. Do you see that big guy with a camera behind you in the tower window? The zombies stop growling. They scream, "Surprise!" They're not zombies. They're just wearing a whole ton of makeup. The gate opens and the woman takes off her werewolf costume and smiles. The vampires come out of the castle, carrying their fake fangs. This whole thing was set up by your fans. They wanted to scare you, and it worked. You're angry at them, but so happy that you're still alive. Okay, let's see how many you got right. 1 to 3 points. It'll be difficult for you to act in stressful situations. Watch more riddles and train yourself to be calm and focused. 4 to 6 points. Something really bad has to happen for you to lose control. Phantoms don't seem to scare you at all that much. 7 to 10 points. You don't even know what fear is, but you do know how to come out victorious in any situation. You have one question for your fans. How did they create that floating effect for those dancers? That was awesome. Your fans look at each other. What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? There were no dancers. A slight chill runs down your back.
Karen had to go to the hospital the other day. As soon as she entered the building, she felt there was something wrong about that place. Walking along the corridor, she saw 2 nurses. Which nurse is fake? The one on the right. Look, her shoes are dirty and she barely knows how to hold a syringe. Stay away from her, Karen. Adam is a successful IT specialist who works 24/7 from home. He rarely goes anywhere, but a week ago, he decided to go on vacation. He packed his bags and left. A week later, when he came back, he instantly noticed there was someone in his apartment while he was away. Since he lives alone, he immediately called the police. Why? Before he left, there was a bin full of papers and candy wrappers. When he came back, the bin was empty. Adele just loves traveling and does it any time she can. She took some days off and headed to the airport to go to a new destination. That morning, there were only 4 flights. Paris, departing at 7 a.m., New York departing at 7:30 a.m., Los Angeles departing at 8:05 a.m., and Sydney departing at 8:10 a.m. Where's Adele flying? To Sydney. Look at her suitcase. It has several stickers on it. A sticker with the Statue of Liberty means she's already been to New York. The one with the Eiffel Tower means she's traveled to Paris. And look at the I Love LA sticker. Hey, have a good time in Australia, Adele. Ryan owns a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's been several months since he started searching for a new head of one of the departments, but he still hasn't found one. Looking through the new CVs his secretary left on his desk, he realized one candidate lied about their experience. Who was it? There are 3 CVs. Each of them has the candidate's age, work experience, and education. But how can someone born in 2000 have a PhD in economics? When Jessica came home from work, she noticed that someone stole an expensive painting from her bedroom, hanging right above the bed. She immediately called the police and explained what happened. She said she didn't touch anything in that room, and when she noticed the painting had been gone, she called them to investigate. The police arrested her on the spot. Why did they arrest her? Jessica said she hadn't touched anything, but the bed is perfectly made. If there had been a robbery, the bed would have been a mess. It wasn't possible to get the painting without stepping on it. A wicked troll caught Marge and locked her up in one of the rooms in his castle. He said it was impossible to get out of that room even though there were 3 exit doors. All of them were equipped with motion sensors. If Marge opens the first door, it'll start a mechanism that fills the room with toxic gas. If Marge opens the second door, it'll start another mechanism. A motion sensor will see the movement, and a super heavy weight will fall down immediately. Behind the third door, there's a swarm of venomous mosquitoes no one can get through. Despite it all, Marge managed to escape. How did she do it? She tricked the motion sensor behind the second door into thinking it was her moving there. But in fact, she just threw her shoe in that room first, the heavy weight fell down, and Marge ran away without a shoe. You have 5 pencils. Green, blue, and orange ones are short. Red and yellow pencils are long. You need to arrange them in a special order. Long pencils are next to each other. The green pencil is between the orange and the red pencil. The pencils on the edges are of different sizes. The 4th pencil is short. The correct order is yellow, red, green, orange, blue. You work in a supermarket and need to arrange 3 boxes from lightest to heaviest. You know that the yellow box is heavier than the black one. 2 black boxes weigh the same as the yellow and pink boxes combined. Okay, this was pretty simple. First goes the pink box, the lightest one. Then you need to put the black box, and then the yellow one, the heaviest. Hey, you got to do weird things at work. Detective Hugh followed a criminal. Unfortunately, he didn't know what he looked like because the criminal would always wear a hood and large sunglasses. The detective knew exactly that he was hiding in one of the 3 houses in Maple Street. When Hugh came up to the first house and knocked on the door, a man opened the door and said he lived alone. He also said it had been several days since he last left home. He claimed he didn't know anything about that criminal. The detective inspected the house and instantly realized the man was lying. How did he understand it? There's an umbrella hidden behind the sofa. The umbrella is wet and there is a small puddle on the floor. This man is either the criminal or he's trying to hide one. Mike was driving back home in Chicago in winter when a blizzard started. The weather was awful, and Mike thought it would be safer to spend a night in a hotel and wait until it stopped snowing. The hotel was a bit iffy, but since it was for one night only, Mike thought it was okay. The next morning when he checked out and came up to his car, he noticed something was wrong and called the police. What was the problem? The car is covered with snow. It's okay since it's been snowing all night long, but the windshield is clean, which means someone must have taken his car. Simon grabbed a really nice muffin in the cafe and put it on his office desk. He wanted to save it for later and eat it at the coffee break. But when he came back from a meeting, he saw someone had eaten his muffin. There are only 3 people who could do that, and only one is telling the truth. Jack says it was Ashton. Ashton says he didn't eat anything. Tyler says he didn't eat anything either. Who ate the muffin? It was Tyler. Only one person is telling the truth, and it's Ashton. If Jack or Tyler told the truth, then it would be 2 people who were telling the truth. But Simon knew only one person wasn't lying. A vampire recently moved to a big city where nobody knew him to start a brand new life. Still, he just couldn't help it and started biting locals every single night. People got scared and asked Detective Ryan to help them out. A couple of days later, he already had 3 suspects. All of them recently moved to that city. Ryan visited all of the suspects, and he was sure he found the notorious vampire. Who is the vampire? Well, the man on the left has loads of garlic in the kitchen, and vampires can't stand it. The second suspect has lots of silver cutlery in the kitchen, and he doesn't mind eating with a silver fork. No vampire can do that. The guy in a hoodie is the vampire. Hey, looks like someone has to move again. A man went to a houseware store to grab something for his new apartment. If he grabs one good, it costs $1. If it's 13, it costs him $2. If it's 138, he'll pay $3. What did he buy? The goods he needed were the numbers for his apartment doors. He lives in apartment 138, so he bought 3 numbers for $1 each. A scientist created a robot, Jason, who looked exactly like a human. One day, Jason ran away from the scientist's house because he wanted to start a life on his own. Hey, maybe he could be roommates with that vampire. The police started looking for him immediately, but the scientist had no photo of Jason. They soon realized Jason was hiding in the swimming pool and went there to investigate. There were 4 men in the swimming pool claiming they had spent almost an hour swimming, and the police asked them to do one thing to prove they're not robots. This way, they found Jason in no time. What did they ask them to do? They asked them to show their hands. Those who had wrinkly fingers after swimming were real people. The one with smooth hands is a robot. Emily told her boss someone had stolen the report she prepared for the meeting. She also added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a hoodie to hide their face, a black tracksuit, and gloves. This person also had a ring with a large gem. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see that ring then? Emily must have simply stained that report with coffee she drinks all the time. Uh-oh, Brandon has missed too many lectures, and now the guy has problems with his professor. The man agrees to give the student a chance to redeem himself, but only if he fulfills a task the professor has for him. I'll give you 1 glass of milk and 1 glass of water. You'll need to pour the 2 liquids into a bowl, but you should be able to separate the milk from the water later. You can't use any kind of dividers. Brandon spent several hours mulling over the problem, but he was desperate enough to crack this riddle. What did he do? He poured all the water into a bowl and froze it. After that, he added the milk. One morning, Melissa saw that some money was missing from the wallet she had left on the table the night before. Her husband was on a business trip, so it must have been one of her sons who took the cash. Jason, who was 17, 15-year-old Jacob, or her youngest son, Andrew. He was 13. Melissa asked her sons what they had been doing the previous evening. Jason said, "I felt unwell and had a headache. After dinner, I took a painkiller and went to bed right away." Jacob told his mom, "My friend Eric stayed for dinner. After that, I gave him a lift home." And Andrew reminded Melissa he had had his basketball training. The woman immediately understood who had taken the money. Can you figure it out as well? Jacob was lying. He was only 15 years old and couldn't drive, legally. Detective Green was called to investigate an accident. A car crashed into a store window and smashed the glass. There are 2 suspects. Both of them deny causing the accident. Detective Green doesn't need much time to figure out who the culprit is. Do you know it too? It's the owner of the blue car. The pattern on its tires is the same as the one on the ground in front of the store. It was a busy Monday morning at the police station when a man rushed in. "I was robbed on the way to the bank," he screamed. "I was going there carrying a bag with a large sum of money. Suddenly a man wearing a black mask and a pair of gloves ran up to me. He snatched the bag and darted away." The police officer listened to the man and asked him about a fresh cut on his right cheek. The man replied it was left by a ring the criminal had been wearing. When the policeman heard these words, he immediately understood the man was lying. How did he realize that? The man said the robber had been wearing gloves. Then how could the ring scratch his cheek? You lose your friends in a crowd. You spend half an hour looking for them, and finally, here they are. What is the first thing you do as soon as you see them? You stop searching. Look at these 2 women and the teenager sitting on the floor. He seems to be absorbed in his smartphone. Can you figure out which woman is his mother? It's the woman on the left. Children often subconsciously sit facing their parents. The teenager and the woman also have the same hair color. Timothy and Laura were high school sweethearts. They got married shortly after college. So far, they've been together for 20 years and have 2 kids who don't live with them anymore. Unfortunately, the spouses have started to fight a lot recently. One day, they talk and decide to divorce. Both of them confess they've already found new partners on a dating site. Timothy says he's happy to have lots of common interests with his internet girlfriend, and Laura boasts that her new boyfriend understands her perfectly. One day, Timothy and Laura decide to meet their ideal partners in real life. Strangely, after this meeting, the couple calls off their divorce. Can you figure out why? Timothy and Laura found out they were having an online relationship with each other. An old man decided to leave all the money he's been saving for his entire life to one of his 3 sons. But he couldn't choose which one should get the money. That's why the man gave each of them 1 coin. He asked his sons to buy something that would fill the largest room in their house. The oldest son bought some raw cotton, but it wasn't enough to fill the whole room. The middle son brought home some straw, and still there was some space left in the room. And the youngest son bought 2 cheap things that managed to fill the room right away. He ended up being the one to get his father's money. What did he bring home? The youngest son bought a box of matches and a candle. After he lit the candle, the room was instantly filled with light. Patrick shaves every day, but every morning he finds his beard to be just as long as it was the day before. How come? Patrick is a barber. He shaves other people. Amanda was 21 on her last birthday, but she's going to be 23 on her next one. How is it possible? It's Amanda's 22nd birthday today. Helen was walking in the forest and got lost. After wandering hours to find her way back, she comes to a clearing. There, the woman sees 3 narrow paths, but one of them is blocked by huge, dense bushes with sharp thorns. The second is littered with trash and broken glass, and the third path is guarded by massive, scary-looking mantises. Which road should Helen pick? The woman should choose the third path. Mantises might look terrifying, but they're totally harmless. A mad scientist caught Kevin and locked him in a small room. There were no windows and the door was locked. But there was a note on the table. It was from the scientist. JFMAMJASOND. Guess the missing letter and I'll set you free. In 10 minutes, Kevin was already running away from the strange place. He managed to figure out that the missing letter was J. Those were the first letters of the months of the year, from January to December, and the 6th letter, J, stood for June. Can you figure out what this rebus puzzle means? It's no biggie. No big E? Yeah. It's a fruit, it's tasty and sweet, and can give you a lot of energy. But you can also find it in your calendar. What is it? It's a date. Anna asked her colleague Daniel to give her a lift to the college where her daughter studied. She promised the girl to take her shopping that day. On their way there, Anna got an idea. How about a bet? I'll prepare one of your reports for you if you manage to figure out which girl is my daughter. Daniel was up for the challenge. When they arrived at the college, they saw 3 girls waiting at the gates. Daniel was confused. They all looked similar. Can you figure out who Anna's daughter is? It's the girl on the left. Anna has the letter L tattooed on her wrist, and the girl is wearing a bracelet with the same letter. A teenager is walking along the street together with a car mechanic. The guy is the mechanic's son, but the mechanic isn't the boy's father. How is it possible? The car mechanic is the guy's mother. Two cars, silver and white, are moving along the same highway. The silver car is traveling at a speed that's twice higher than that of the white car. They both started at the same time, and still, after some time on the road, the two cars come across each other. How is it possible? The cars were moving toward each other. John and Michael are car mechanics. After finishing a tricky repair, they get out from under the car. John's face is all dirty, but Michael's face is miraculously clean. And still, it's Michael who goes and washes his face. Why? Michael looked at his colleague and thought his face was dirty too. But when John saw Michael, whose face was spotless, he concluded he was just as clean. When do you keep moving when you see red, but stop once it's green? It always happens when you're eating a watermelon. Who is the only brother-in-law of your mother's brother? That's your father. One night, a group of thieves was stealing boxes with electronics from a warehouse. They were carrying them to their van when they heard a police car siren. But even though the thieves didn't manage to avoid the police, they didn't get arrested. Why? They started to carry the boxes back to the warehouse, and the police thought it was a late-night delivery. Ooh, that's kind of smart.
Kira is a very independent young lady. 2 years ago, she moved into a one-story house in Alaska. Since then, she's been living there with her dog. Her house is made of sandstone, and it's pretty cozy and warm. Can you guess the color of the stairs inside? There are no stairs in a one-story building. One day, Kira went to town to buy some dog food and meet with her sister, Mia. They went for a walk and stopped in front of these two houses. In each house, a family with two pets with dogs or cats lived there. Kira told Mia 2 facts about those houses. On the left, the family has a dog that likes dry food, but the other pet loves canned food. And the family in the house on the right has a 7-year-old dog and a newborn pet. Mia asked Kira, "Do both families have a cat?" Kira replied, "I'm not sure, but if you manage to guess the house with the cat, I'll give you $100. Can you guess which family is more likely to have a cat? Okay, let's analyze this. The house on the left offers us 3 possible scenarios. A younger cat and an older dog, a younger dog and an older cat, or just 2 dogs. We can't consider a cat-cat option because Mia mentioned that there was at least 1 dog in that house. Now, all these 3 options are equally possible, and 2 of them include cats, so the chances of a cat living in that house are 2 out of 3. As for the house on the right, there are 2 possible scenarios. Since we already know that the older pet is a dog, here's the first possibility. The younger pet is a cat, and the older animal is a dog. And the second possibility suggests that there are just 2 dogs. So, here, the chances are 1 in 2. That's why Kira should choose the house on the left. This way, her chances of winning are higher. Mia invited Kira to visit her workplace. She's a manager in a luxury resort hotel. The building has 7 floors. 5 people are now staying in the rooms on the first floor, and on each next floor, there are 3 people more than on the previous floor. Can you figure out which floor the elevator is called most often? To the first floor. Any person living not on the first floor has to call the elevator to get to their room. Will is a famous billionaire. He decided to stay in the best room in the hotel. He's got 3 gold bars that weigh 4, 2, and 1 pound respectively. The charge for the room is 1 pound of gold per day, and the hotel staff don't accept any advanced payments. Will wants to stay at the hotel for 7 days. How can he pay for the room? Here's the scheme. On the first day, Will should give them his 1 pound bar. On the second day, he should give the 2 pound bar and take his 1 pound gold bar back. On the third day, Will should pay with the 1 pound bar again. And on the fourth day, the guy should give the 4 pound bar and take both the 1 and 2 pound gold bars back. On the fifth day, he can pay with the 1 pound bar. On the sixth day, he can give them the 2 pound bar and take the 1 pound bar back. And finally, on the seventh day, Will should pay with his last 1 pound gold bar. Will offered Mia a deal. If you crack my riddle, I'm going to give you the biggest diamond from my collection. He arranged these matchsticks in a square, which contained 4 smaller squares. Can you remove only 2 matches so that there's only 2 squares instead of the 5? Mia nailed it right away. What about you? Here's the solution. You have to remove these matchsticks, and voila! You have only 2 squares left. Then Will offered Kira an opportunity to win a fortune. There are 100 precious red stones and 100 simple white stones in his collection. The billionaire gave the girl 2 different bags labeled heads and tails. She can put the stones wherever she likes. Then, Kira has to flip a coin and choose a stone from the corresponding bag, heads or tails. If it's a red one, she will receive all the precious stones, but if she picks a white stone, she'll get nothing. How should Kira distribute the stones to increase her chances of winning? If she puts just 1 red stone in one bag and all the other stones in another, her chances of winning will be 3 and 4. Let's wish her luck. There are both humans and werewolves in the lobby of this hotel. They look very similar, so you can't identify who is who by their appearance. Both people and werewolves tell either only the truth or only lies. These 2 handsome gentlemen came up to Mia and Kira. Adam said, "Bill is a lying werewolf and I'm a human." And Bill said, "Adam is telling the truth." Can you help Kira and Mia decide who these 2 guys really are? We know that they cannot tell half-truths. So, Adam's statement is only true if both parts of it are true. Let's suppose that Bill is an honest human. Then Adam should be honest too. But Adam called Bill a liar, which creates a conflict. It means that Bill's statement cannot be true. So Bill is a liar. And knowing that, we can conclude that Adam is a liar too. But what about their nature? Are they humans or werewolves? Adam's first statement is a lie, which means that Bill is not a werewolf. Therefore, Bill is a lying human. And the second part of Adam's statement means that he's a lying werewolf. Adam and Bill invited Kira and Mia for dinner. When they asked the ladies about their parents, Kira replied, "We have the same father and mother, and we were both born on the same day." Adam asked, "Are you twins?" Mia replied, "Nope, no we're not." How can this be possible? Have you guessed? Kira and Mia are not twins. They're 2 of a set of triplets. They have a third sister, Sophie.
Hi.
Kira and Mia went to the swimming pool. They saw 10 swimmers chilling on sunbeds near the pool. 2 of them decided to jump into the water. How many swimmers remained near the pool at that moment? 10. The 2 swimmers might have decided to get into the water, but it doesn't mean they've done it. Kira entered a very small dressing room. There were 4 cats sitting in 4 corners. There were 3 cats across from each cat. And at each cat's tail, there was 1 more cat. Can you tell how many cats there were in the room? The room was very small. Each cat was sitting near the tail of the cat from the neighboring corner. In the ladies' room, Mia met this weird woman standing in front of the mirror and applying some lipstick on her forehead. Can you guess what's going on? She's trying to make up her mind. In the basement of the hotel, Mia and Kira found a barrel with no lid and some milk in it. Kira said, "Whoa, this barrel of milk is more than half full."
Oh,
And Mia said, "No, it's not. It's less than half full."
yes?
Without any measuring tools or pouring any milk out of the barrel, how can they easily determine who's right? They should tilt the barrel until the milk touches its lip. If the bottom of the barrel is visible, it's less than half full. And if the bottom is still completely covered with the milk, then it's more than half full. A large group of students came to a scientific conference held at the hotel. 280 students study chemistry, 254 students study physics, and 280 students study biology. At the same time, 97 students study both chemistry and physics, and 138 students study both physics and biology, and 152 students study chemistry and biology. Also, there are 73 students who study all three subjects. Can you figure out the total number of students at the conference? Take a look at this Venn diagram. Now, it's obvious that the total number of students is 500. Mia gave Kira 3 shoe boxes labeled red, blue, and red and blue. She said, "I labeled the boxes incorrectly. You can only open one box of your choice and then label the boxes correctly. If you do it, I'll give you all these shoes." Can you help Kira label the boxes? Kira should opt for the box labeled red and blue. Since the boxes are labeled incorrectly, this box will contain either red shoes or blue shoes. Let's suppose that Kira found red shoes inside the box. Now she can remove the red label from the wrong box and put it on the correct one. Meanwhile, the box labeled blue cannot have blue shoes inside. Neither can it contain red shoes. It means the blue box must contain both red and blue shoes. Now, Kira has only one remaining box that she can label as blue, and if inside the red-blue box there's a pair of blue shoes, Kira can use the same logic to label the remaining shoes. Take a look at the table. How many matches can you see? 8. Here they are.
Psst. Share in the comments how many of these riddles you will answer correctly. Samantha and Jack got stranded on a tiny uninhabited island. They had no radio or cell phones, so they couldn't inform rescuers about their dire situation. There were no trees on the island, so they couldn't make a smoke signal, and all around them was just sand and rocks. Suddenly, Samantha noticed a plane circling the sky in search of them. Unfortunately, it was flying too high, and the pilot couldn't see them. That's when she got a bright idea. Soon after, the plane picked them up. What was Samantha's idea? To use rocks to spell out SOS on the sand. Detective Cooper needed to find out the very last piece of missing information in a case he had been dealing with lately. He finally got to the office where secret documents were hidden. To open the door, he needs to choose the right button. There are 3 of them, a yellow one, a green one, and a blue one. Which one should the detective choose? The detective needs to choose the blue button. It's pretty worn out, so it must have been used many times. Plus, there's a small note with a warning. The green button is for an emergency, and the yellow one shuts all the doors and turns off the lights in the whole building. Wow, I want one of those. One day, Amanda thought her boyfriend Eric had a secret from her. To find out what it was, she needed access to his laptop. She had no idea what the password was, but luckily, there was a post-it note right on his desk. However, she needed to decipher the pass. Apple, man, dawn. Can you crack this code? Right, it's Amanda. Her name is the code. By the way, the secret he was hiding was the birthday present Eric had been choosing for her. Well, that's what you get for snooping. Jack and Jim agreed to say yes all day long to all questions. If one of them doesn't say yes to a question, he automatically loses and must give $100 to his friend. Jim realized there was one question nobody could say yes to. What question was it? Jim realized nobody could say yes to the "Are you asleep?" question. Jim waited until Jack took a nap and recorded a video in which Jack replied with a snoring but not yes to Jim's question. Seems like a cheap shot. Jason is a shop assistant in a department store. At the moment, there are 3 people in a fitting room he's assisting. Jessica, the girl, is wearing a green dress. Sean, a man wearing a leather jacket and skinny jeans. And Alex, the man who's currently taking a larger pair of jeans that Jason brought him. One of the clients is an alien. Jason has to figure out who it is. It's Alex. Take a closer look at his feet. Only a reptile or an alien could have such feet. Julian needed to find a very important document he'd lost. He looked through all the papers and finally found something that looked like the document he actually needed. However, a couple of seconds later, he realized there were 4 copies of this document looking precisely the same, or not. Can you guess which one is the real document? It's the one in the upper left corner. It has a stamp and a signature, and it says Agreement. The one next to it looks similar, but it has a spelling mistake. It says Agreedment. The rest of the copies lack either a stamp or a signature. Mr. and Mrs. Jones are fond of art and love collecting rare and expensive pieces. Once they had to go on a business trip, and when they came back home, they realized something precious was missing. They instantly called the police, but the officers were confused because no painting was taken. Why were Mr. and Mrs. Jones worried then? A frame was missing. In fact, it cost much more than many art pieces, as it was encrusted with gems. Mary was walking in the woods and suddenly saw a really fancy castle. It was getting late, and she thought she might ask for a stay there overnight. It was a wicked troll's castle, and he really didn't like intruders. Mary was captured and locked in a dark room with 2 guards. Still, the troll gave her a chance to break free. There are 2 doors in the room. One door leads to freedom, and the other is locked. The guards know which door will set Mary free. One of the guards always tells the truth, while the other always lies, and Mary doesn't know who it is. She can ask just one question to one guard only. What question should she ask? If Mary says, "If I ask your colleague to show me the way to freedom, what door will it be?" No matter what the guard replies, they will point at the locked door. The one that lies will show the wrong door, and the one that doesn't lie will show the wrong door too, since it would be chosen by the one who lies. This way, Mary knows the wrong door, and she needs to select the other one. One man went to his friend's party and told his wife he'd be back before sunrise. He shaved and left home. He returned, as promised, before sunrise, but he was sporting a long, thick beard. How come? The man and his wife live in a place with polar nights that last for several months. Anthony, the financial director of a big company, finally persuaded new partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his office. When he arrived at work the following day, the folder was gone. Anthony gathered all the employees in the office at the time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained that he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered Anthony's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. Anthony never mentioned which folder was gone. How would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Eric wears either only black or only white socks. One morning, he was in a hurry to get ready for an important meeting. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. He doesn't want to look silly at work wearing different socks. If it's completely dark in the room and Eric can't see anything, how many socks should he pull out of the drawer to get himself 2 matching ones? Three socks are more than enough. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 of the same color. Jane told her boss someone had taken the documents she had prepared for the meeting. She added that she had noticed someone come in wearing a smart suit, gloves, and a black mask. This person also had 3 rings on their fingers. The boss didn't believe her. Why? She said the person was wearing gloves. Then how did she see 3 rings on their fingers? Jane must have simply forgotten to print those documents out. On a nice warm day, Vivian, who lived in a town on the seashore, decided to go for a hike alone. But after hours of trekking, she ended up in a section of the forest she wasn't familiar with. Before her, there were 3 paths. One path had bare footprints leading away. Another had human footprints. And the third one was right by the river. Which one should Vivian take to find her way? The river path. Since she lives in a coastal town, the river mouth most likely ends up in the sea. That way, she could figure out where she was. So now it's your turn. Count 'em up. How many correct answers do you have? Yep, the police found out that several criminals were going to leave the country by plane. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was. 4 suspicious men were detained and their baggage was examined. Can you figure out who is innocent? Why would a bald man need a shampoo? A supposedly blind person with a flashlight? Toothpaste without a toothbrush? It seems only the man on the left isn't a criminal. Anne invited her friends to spend a week in her house. The young people were having tons of fun. The day before they had to leave, a terrible storm started. It was pouring with rain. Strong winds were breaking trees, tearing down power lines, and causing power outages all over the place. The next morning, the weather was better. But Anne discovered that her favorite ring, with a diamond her granny had left her many years ago, was missing. She asked all her friends to come to the living room. "I can't find one thing that's very important to me. Can you tell me what you were doing yesterday?" Megan answered she spent most of the whole day in her room reading. Walter said, "I was practicing my electric guitar in the garage." Marie told Anne she didn't even know what the ring looked like. Anne knew right away who the thief was. Can you figure it out too? There was a power outage. It means Walter couldn't be playing an electric guitar, and Anne said nothing about the important thing being a ring. So how did Marie know it? Walter and Marie stole the ring together. A jewelry store manager called the police. "Help!" he shouted. "My store has been robbed!" When the officers arrived at the place, they couldn't see the man. Suddenly, they heard someone banging on the door. They didn't notice this door at first because it was hidden in the corner. When they unlocked it, they saw a man. It was the manager. "Someone locked me in here. It must be one of the shop assistants." The police officers asked the man to call his employees. They were going to question them. "Just a second, I can't find my phone." "Ah, here it is." The manager didn't even start to dial the number before the officers arrested him. Why? If he was locked in the room and the phone was lying on the counter, how could he call the police? Police Detective Thomas Davis was walking along the street on a winter evening. Suddenly, he saw a person in a black mask sneaking out of a house through the window. They were carrying 2 large bags. The detective realized it was a burglar. He ran after the stranger, but they turned the corner and disappeared. Thomas understood the criminal had hidden in one of these houses. But which one? It can't be the house on the left. There are too many people inside. There are no footprints in the snow leading to the house on the right. It means no one has been there for quite some time. Which leaves us with the house in the middle. Nathan sneaked out of the house late in the evening to meet his girlfriend. The teenager thought he was extremely careful and quiet, but his whole family knew about his plan. They were aware the guy would return at midnight. They decided to make a bet. The one who would see Nathan first when the guy started climbing the fence would be the winner. No chores for them for 1 week. Not to fall asleep, Nathan's dad switched on the TV. The teen's grandfather settled in the living room to read a book. The grandmother went to the kitchen to make pizza. And Nathan's mom went to her room, sat down on the floor, and started to meditate. Who's going to be the first to spot Nathan when the time comes? Nathan's mom. Her eyes will be used to the darkness, and she will see better than the others. A family with 2 teenage children went on vacation to the seaside. They lived in a small bungalow almost right on the beach. Everything was great at first, but 2 days after their arrival, the younger son went missing. The police had 4 suspects. They invited the guy's family to look at them. Maybe they could recognize someone. The teenager's mother didn't need more than a glance before she knew who was behind her son's disappearance. Who was it? It's the man wearing the missing guy's baseball cap. Carl, an heir to a giant fortune, was found unconscious during a wild party. His sister, Sarah, stumbled across him in the bathroom. The guy was lying on the floor, barely alive. Sarah immediately called the ambulance and police. Carl was taken to a hospital. Doctors saved his life, but the guy was still unconscious. He couldn't talk. When the police questioned Sarah, she told them that her brother had felt unwell. He went to the bathroom to freshen up. After some time, she heard some noise and went to check on him. Carl must have slipped and hit his head on the sink. After the police officers heard this story, the sister got arrested right away. Why? For one thing, it happened during a loud party. How could the girl hear any suspicious noise? Carl was also lying too far away from the sink, which was on the other side of the bathroom. Boy, with a sister like that. Look at this picture and try to figure out who is from the future. Well, I'm pretty sure there were no flashlights in the Stone Age. All the people working in the office, Janice, Brian, Teresa, Sean, and Roy, used the fridge in the kitchen to store their lunch. On Friday, Janice opened the fridge to get her bacon and cheese sandwich she brought from home. But it wasn't there. Someone had eaten her lunch. Who was it? Well, it couldn't be Brian. There's a wet umbrella near his desk. He has just come in. Teresa is a vegan. She eats neither cheese nor bacon. Roy is on a diet, and such a sandwich is by no means light food. This means Sean was the one who stole Janice's sandwich. You bad boy. When Joe came to work, he saw his safe was open. All the money and important documents were gone. He immediately called his friend, Detective Callum. When the man arrived, Joe told him, "I think it was one of my employees. They must have borrowed my key and opened the safe." Callum questioned the three people who worked for Joe. Wayne said, "I don't even know what the safe looks like. And of course, I don't know which key opens it." Austin said, "I'm Joe's assistant. I do have the second key to the safe, but I was on holiday and just returned." And Julia just said, "I can't prove it, but I didn't do it." Who's lying? Wayne. No one told him the safe could be opened with a key, not a combination lock. Then, how did he know? Someone stole several expensive t-shirts in a designer clothing store. The manager told the security guard he had half an hour to find the thief. "If you don't make it in time, you'll be fired." The guard rushed to watch the CCTV footage. Luckily, he managed to figure out who the thief was before his time ran out. And do you know who it was? It's the man in the dark blue sweater. His belly miraculously became larger after he spent some time in the store. He must be hiding the t-shirts under his sweater. Look at this picture and try to understand what's wrong here. The reflection in the mirror is all wrong. Terry was sailing around the world when his yacht got caught in a terrible storm. At one moment, the guy hit his head against the mast and lost consciousness. When he came around, he was on a beach. Unfriendly-looking locals had gathered around. Soon, Terry figured out they really didn't like strangers. They offered the guy three options: to send him to a cave filled with tarantulas, throw him into a pit swarming with yellow scorpions, or make him meet hungry lions. What should Terry choose to survive? He should opt for tarantulas. These creatures look terrifying, but they are mostly harmless to humans. Mostly. Captain Jack was a feared pirate who had robbed thousands of ships. He did it with the help of just one small trick. It allowed him to approach any ship from any country close enough to board it. What was this trick? Captain Jack had a collection of flags from different countries. Instead of using Jolly Roger, the fearsome black flag, he raised the flag of the country the ship was from. It got him immediate access. In what situation do you have more chances to survive? If you're falling from a 10-story building, or if you come across several scary snakes that look unfriendly? The snakes might not be venomous, then they won't cause you any harm. But if you're falling from a big height, well, only a miracle can… Nah, nothing's gonna save you. Bye-bye! A super wealthy businessman, Mr. Carl Jenkins, has been taken and left locked up all alone in a dark room. His phone's almost run out of charge, so he can only write one message. He knows that someone might spy on his phone, so he decided to write a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who runs a detective agency. He remembered that in high school they would cipher messages to each other, so he used the same technique. The message was this. Can you guess what it means? Back in high school, they would shift one letter to the right each time they needed to write a secret code. To decipher it, you need to go one letter to the left. Their alphabet looks like this. The message is, "It was Eric." Having read the message, John knew immediately who his friend was talking about. Eric is the financial director of Carl's company. He had seen him once at a party a couple of years ago, so he knew what he looked like. John decided to investigate this case himself and help his friend out. He was sure there was something secret in Carl's mansion. Somehow he thought he knew that Eric would have the key to the mansion. The receptionist, Kelly, said he would always have lunch with different business partners at 2 p.m. sharp in his favorite cafe. When the detective drove up to the cafe, he saw Eric, the man with a beard, discussing business with someone. Either of them had a briefcase next to them, and the briefcases looked similar to each other. John was waiting for Eric and the second guy to leave the cafe. They went to the car, got in, and left both briefcases on the back seat. The detective followed them. They left the car in a parking lot, and luckily, they were careless enough to leave the car open. Which briefcase should the detective grab? The one that looks brand new. While they were walking to the car, the detective spotted a few scratches on the second man's briefcase. Both briefcases were locked with a cipher. Not to make the whole thing suspicious, the detective decided not to take it and cracked the code right in the car. Can you help him open the briefcase? The code is 000. The briefcase is brand new, and Eric probably didn't have time to set a code on it yet. Plus, Eric's the one who leaves the car open and unattended in a parking lot, so no wonder he uses a default code for his briefcase. Now that the detective has the key, he heads to the mansion. The front door isn't a problem with the key in hand. The study is upstairs. He's been there before, so he remembers the stairs leading up have a secret. If you step on the wrong stair, you'll instantly fall to the basement and won't be able to escape from it yourself. What step should John mind? It's the one with the slit in the middle. When you step on it, it opens and you get into a dark room with bats and spiders. Yikes! Alright, John is finally at the study door, and Carl would always use buttons to open it. You've got only one try. There are 3 buttons, yellow, green, and blue. Which one should the detective choose if he knows that Carl is a big fan of painting? A combination of blue and yellow gives green, so the door opens. Green light for our detective. He finally reaches the safe with top-secret documents that could help him find out the truth. Obviously, just like any other safe, it's locked with a code. It also has a warning. You can enter the code only once. If you hit the wrong code, the safe locks up forever. He's looking around for a hint, and voila! John is right. On the desk, he sees a note. It says, "Secret code," and has a combination of 3 digits, 3, something, and 1. The digit in the middle can't be seen since there's an ink stain right on it. Can you crack the code with one attempt only? The code is 371. The detective thought the code was used frequently, so the button must have been a bit worn out. He was right. Since he knew the beginning and the end, he only needed to find one more worn button. Alright, now he's got the top-secret documents he needed for his investigation. He looks through all the papers and finally finds something that looks like the document he actually needed. To take it as a hard proof, he needs to find one which is not fake. There are 4 copies. They look almost the same, but only one is real. Can you guess which one? It's the one in the upper left corner. It has a stamp, a signature, and it says agreement. The one next to it looks the same, but it has a spelling mistake. It says agreement. Other copies lack either a stamp or a signature. So the detective takes a closer look at this agreement and sees something about a painting bought in an auction. He suddenly understands that his friend Carl was taken so that someone could sneak into his mansion and grab that super expensive painting. He's looking at the wall with all the paintings Carl collected and realizes that no painting is missing. There are as many nails in the wall as there are paintings. Still, there's something strange about one of them. Can you spot what's wrong here? Even though all the paintings are present, there's one that lacks a frame. According to the agreement, the painting has been recently bought, and an art dealer helped Carl pick it. The expert was an honest man, and he helped Carl make sure all the other paintings in his collection were real. This time, the painting turned out to be nothing but a copy. Why did the expert suggest that Carl buy it? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. The one who grabbed it definitely knew that. Now it's all clear. John has to find both Carl and the precious frame. He goes outside, trying to deduce where the person who took Carl went. Carl is looking at all the tracks on the ground. He needs to follow one of them to understand where to look for Carl. Where should he go? He's got to follow the tracks going to the left. There are 3 sets of tracks here. The first belonged to John's car. The second set belongs to a 2-wheel vehicle, and since the tracks are really thin, they were left by a bike. It seems impossible to take someone somewhere on a bike, so these must belong to a mail carrier who comes every day to bring the letters. The last set of tracks definitely belongs to a large car, so John should follow it. He's lucky and there are no turns, so he's just going straight. Half an hour later, he sees something like a castle. He drives up to it and he sees 3 moats in front of him. Here's the first one, a row full of metal stakes. How can John jump over it safely? There's a small hot air balloon nearby. John has to untie it and light the lamp to take off. Since the next moat is on fire, John thinks it's unsafe to fly over it because the air balloon doesn't fly high enough and the lamp doesn't have enough oil to go on for long. Still, he managed to cross the moat with fire easily. How did he do it? He took the sand from the air balloon's ballast and sprinkled it on the fire, extinguishing it. The last moat was filled with scalding hot lava. It took John some time to figure out how to cross it, but he managed to do it safely. How? There were a lot of stones around him. The lava torrent wasn't deep at all, so throwing stones at it, he made a tiny path to hop on. The castle was rather small inside, so the hardest thing was to actually get into it. When he entered the hall, John saw 3 doors. Above the doors, there was a sign. It said, "One of the doors leads to a labyrinth no one ever escaped. One of the doors is the exit. If you enter it, you'll have to cross all the 3 moats all over again. One of the doors has what you're looking for." When John looked at the doors, he knew immediately where his friend was. Which door did he choose? The handles were made of shiny metal, which looks cool but gathers all the fingerprints. The only door with fingerprints is the one on the left. John opens the door and sees his friend. Carl rushes out of that dark room, and while heading to the exit, they spot a few frames. Which one is Carl's? The rectangular one. The painting was rectangular, and the 2 other frames are square. The 2 friends get out of the castle, get in the car, and head to the police department. There, an officer's waiting for them. They have 3 suspects who could have possibly taken the exquisite frame. Carl and John enter the room separately. Still, they choose the same person. Who did they choose? The man on the right. Carl chooses him because it's the art expert. John chooses him because he saw him with Carl having lunch. Wow, seems like this expert's not going to work with Carl ever again.
Whose wife is a vampire? This guy's wife is a vampire because she only came to the party after sunset. Whose husband is a werewolf? The girl on the left is sweeping up her cat's hair. See? There's a cat in the background. Meanwhile, there are scratches on the floor and walls in the house of the girl on the right. And this shoe has a torn front. Her husband must be a werewolf. Whose wife is actually a ghost? The woman on the right is wearing a ghost costume. It's Halloween. But the woman on the left is a real ghost because we can't see her legs under the sheet. Whose husband is actually a zombie? The man on the left is just sick. The man on the right is a zombie because he's the only one who doesn't eat human food and has an empty plate. Water lilies grow on the lake. Every day, their number doubles. The lilies will completely cover the entire surface of the lake in 48 days. How many days will it take them to cover half of the lake? "47 days. You see, every day the number of the water lilies doubles. On day 48, the lake will be completely covered with lilies. It means that on day 47, there will be twice as few lilies as on day 48. Jack noticed that someone regularly ruins his lawn. He decided to install a hidden camera and figure out who approached his house most often. After 4 days, he decided to check the footage and immediately realized who the culprit was. Can you guess who it is? Jack's neighbor Karen ruins his lawn. She's present in all the photos, but she tries to disguise herself so that she can't be recognized. A woman didn't have her driver's license with her. She didn't stop at a railroad crossing when the barrier was lowered. Then, ignoring the stop sign, she moved in the wrong direction along a one-way street and stopped only after passing 3 intersections. Traffic police officers, seeing all this, decided not to interfere. Why? The woman first traveled by train and then walked. Mary is trying to enter an ice castle to save her friend Logan, but there's a combination lock on the gate. Luckily, there's a clue carved on the ice. Here it is. 162. One number is correct and in the right place. 842. Two numbers are correct but in the wrong place. 526. Nothing is correct. Can you guess the code? The passcode is 184. First, we exclude 2 and 6, since in 526, no number is correct. In 842, two numbers are correct, so two of the numbers we need are 8 and 4. The last number must be 1, and since 1 is in its place, we can easily figure out where 8 and 4 must go. Mary opens the gate and enters the castle. She walks down an icy corridor and comes across 3 doors. There's a severe snowstorm behind the first door. In the second room, there's a dangerous snow dragon. And behind the third door, there's a lake covered with a layer of dark blue ice. Which door should Mary choose? The dragon is a definite no-no. The dark blue ice is thin and unsafe. Mary is likely to just fall into the lake. The first door is the best option. Mary crosses the room and finds herself in a long corridor. The Ice Queen's monsters start chasing her. The girl runs down the hallway and sees another 3 doors made of clear ice. There's a magical snow parrot in the first room. The second room is filled with water. And there's a small black room behind the third door. It looks more like a locker. Which door should Mary hide behind to avoid being found? The Ice Queen's parrot behind the first door will scream when it sees Mary. The third door is a bad option because the doors are made of clear ice, so the monsters will spot her immediately. The second door is the best option. Mary swims away and finds herself in a big hall. She sees Logan, and they're about to run away together when the Ice Queen captures them in a cage. There are 3 levers next to the cage, and the Ice Queen gives Mary these hints. The first lever is going to open the cage, but they'll fall into a freezing cold underground lake. The second lever will open all the cages in the castle and release all the monsters that are inside. The third lever will open the cage, but only one person will be able to get out. What should the guys do? They should pull the third lever and let Logan out. After that, they should pull the first lever. Mary will fall into the water, but Logan will help her get out of the lake. John decided to make a vegetable salad for his friends. To prepare for it, he will need 3 peppers and the same number of tomatoes. And he needs fewer cucumbers than tomatoes, but more than radishes. How many different vegetables will John use in the salad? .3 peppers, 3 tomatoes, 2 cucumbers, and 1 radish. A professor went to have his lunch break, leaving 3 students in the lecture hall. When he returned, he realized that an answer sheet for an important exam had disappeared from his desk. He questioned the students. Kyle said, "10 minutes after you'd left, my mom called me and asked me to meet with her near the college building. When I returned, the sheet was already gone." Brian said,
"No one called Kyle. He took something from your desk and left."
And Ryan said, "Brian is telling the truth. When we realized that it was an answer sheet, we ran after him outside, but he had already left." Who should the professor believe? Ryan and Brian are lying. They said they had run after Kyle outside, but it was raining and they're both dry. Which of these artists is suspicious? The girl on the right has been using orange paint, not red. Then why do her clothes have red stains? Who is suspicious at this party? The second girl marked this glass to know which of them contained poison. Which of these students is suspicious? Student 3 only pretends to be writing. He's actually reading a magazine. Which of these women is suspicious? The woman on the right is only pretending to be pregnant. A prince married a simple girl and brought her to the palace. His mother, the queen, didn't like it at all. She started watching the girl and discovered that she secretly took some jewelry out of the palace and hid it in the ground under an oak tree. The queen immediately went to the prince and told him about it. The prince checked under the oak tree and actually found the jewels. His wife started begging him, "My prince, I swear, I didn't steal it for myself. I'm leaving the jewelry here so that my family can pick it up later." But the queen said, "She's lying to you. She hides the jewelry here because she wants to sell it when she runs away from the palace." Who's lying? The girl's lying. No one forbids her to visit her family or give them whatever they need openly. She hides it because she'll need the money after running away. John had a lunch break, so he went to the butcher to buy some meat. He asked the butcher to cut the meat in a specific way. The butcher asked if John was a firefighter. John said yes. How did the butcher guess John's profession? John was still wearing his uniform when he went on his lunch break. Mary went to the forest to pick some berries and mushrooms. Sometime later, the girl realized she had gotten lost. Suddenly, she heard the trees crackling behind her back. There was a monster approaching. Mary ran as fast as she could and managed to get away from the monster. She saw a small house and went inside. An elderly lady lived in the house. She said she would help Mary, but Mary immediately realized that this lady was a shapeshifter. She was the monster in the forest. How did Mary know that? Have you noticed that the elderly woman has the same symbol on her hand as the monster had? Luckily, it turned out that the woman was not actually evil. She helped Mary to get out of the forest. The elderly lady from the forest has 3 cats: Snowball, Bella, and Lisa. They usually sleep on 3 different pillows: yellow, pink, and blue. Bella likes sleeping on the pink pillow. Snowball never chooses either pink or blue. Think about it and try to guess which pillow each of the cats sleeps on. Bella sleeps on the pink pillow, Snowball lies on the yellow one, and Lisa sleeps on the blue one. Now it's time to think fast. Why is Santa Claus so good at karate? Because he has a black belt. Duh. What bear has no teeth? Marmalade bear. How can you make a rattlesnake cry? Take the rattle away. You go to a swimming pool once a week, and today's the day, but everything suddenly goes wrong. As soon as you enter the swimming pool, you look at the TV in the hall. Breaking news! Someone spotted a zombie in town. They probably went downtown, and they may be anywhere. If you see one, call the police immediately. You think it's probably safer to stay in the swimming pool. Zombies are slow and probably aren't good at swimming. So you go to the shower to change, but as soon as you enter the shower room, you notice that something's off. Who's a zombie? The 2 girls seem completely fine, but there's a bandage on the man's leg. No one would go to a swimming pool if they had cuts or scratches, unless they're a zombie. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy king who hired an artist to paint his portrait. The artist told the king that he wanted to be paid in gold, and he wanted to get paid every day. He also said it would take him 7 days to finish the painting.
The wealthy king had only large bars of gold, and he wanted to give 1 bar for his work. But since the artist wanted to get paid daily, he needed to come up with a plan. He had a magic tool that could cut any material, but it was able to make only 2 cuts. How did the king split the gold bar so that the artist got his gold every single day in equal amounts? The king was really smart, so he cut the bars this way: 1/7, 2/7, and 4/7. The first day, he gave the artist 1/7 of the gold bar. The second day, he gave him 2/7, but took 1/7 back as change. The third day, he gave 1/7 back. The fourth day, he gave 4/7, but took the other 2 pieces back as change. The fifth day, he gave 1/7, so the artist got 5/7 of the bar. The sixth day, he gave 2/7, but took 1/7 back again. And the very last day, the artist got 1/7, so in the end, he had a full bar of gold. 4 friends, Josh, Maggie, Jason, and Rosie, were walking in the woods. It was a wonderful day, and they were about to start a picnic. But all of a sudden, the sun turned to black and they saw dozens of zombies approaching them. The friends started running away and saw a tunnel. It was dark and scary, but the guys knew exactly that when they crossed it, they'd be safe. They had only 12 minutes to cross the tunnel. It takes Josh 1 minute to cross it. Jason can do it in 2 minutes. Maggie thinks it will take her 4 minutes, and Rosie can cross it in 5 minutes. Not to risk it, the guys decided to split into 2 groups. The problem is that they only have 1 torchlight, and there's no way they go there in 4. How can they escape? First, Josh and Jason should cross it with a torchlight while the girls are waiting on the other side. It takes 2 minutes, plus 1 minute for Josh to go back. They still have 9 minutes. Josh hands the torchlight to the girls, and they cross the tunnel in 5 minutes. 4 minutes left. When the girls are on the other side, they give the torchlight to Jason, who comes back to take Josh in 2 minutes, and they run back together in another 2 minutes. The airport security had an emergency alert. There's a man with fake documents trying to fly away from New York. They had 3 suspects who look almost the same. Which passport is fake? No matter what country a person is from, no passport can have a photo with mountains in the background. All backgrounds should be solid. John's passport has a suspicious photo in it. His documents are fake. Mason is a lifeguard. One day, a girl came up to him asking for help. She said someone had stolen her wallet, which she noticed when she was going to go and grab a soda pop. Mason checked the towel where the girl left her stuff, but the only thing he noticed were her own footprints. Is this girl lying to Mason? The girl was telling the truth. Mason had an eagle eye, and he saw a guy with a fishing rod. He must have stolen the girl's wallet. No one wants to go fish in the public beach. Robbers stole a few precious gems the other day. The police were alerted immediately, but they didn't know where to look for the thieves. Suddenly, they got an anonymous email. Check all the bottles in the cars leaving the town. Best regards, Mr. X. At the end of the day, the officers stopped a car loaded with boxes and bottled water. The bottle bottoms were all covered with paint, so they thought the gems should be in one of them. The level of water was the same in all the bottles, but when one of the officers placed one of them right next to the box, he instantly realized something was off. What was it? The bottle standing next to the box is much lower than those still inside. The police then found there was a double bottom and the gems were hidden right underneath it. 2 friends, Martin and Clyde, had a bet. Martin said he would throw a ball and it would come back to him. He also said there would be no obstacle or wall the ball could ricochet from. Clyde said it was impossible, and he lost. How's that? Martin threw the ball straight up. It obviously came back to him. No magic, just physics. Emily grabbed a really nice muffin at the cafeteria and put it on the office desk. She wanted to save it for later, but when she came back from the meeting, she saw someone had eaten her muffin. There were only 3 people who could do that, and only one person is telling the truth. Grace said it was Alicia. Alicia said she didn't eat anything. Tina says she didn't eat anything either. Who ate the muffin? It was Tina. Only one person is telling the truth, and it's Alicia. If Grace or Tina told the truth, then there would be 2 truthful people, but Emily knew only one person wasn't lying. Patrick really wanted to come to a private party, but the security would ask each person if they knew the secret access code. Patrick decided to overhear their conversations. When the person came up to the entrance, the security said 6, and the guest said 3. Then the security said 10 to the second visitor, and the reply was 3 as well. The third visitor also said 3, but the security said 2. Patrick thought he was ready to join the best party in town. When he came up to the entrance, the guard said 7, and Patrick replied 3. The security didn't let him in. What should Patrick have said to get into that fancy party? He should have said 5. The guest needed to count letters. 6, 10, and 2 have 3 letters. That's why the answer was 3. In the word 7, there are 5 letters. Ben loved diamonds. For some time, he would spend $5,000 a day on precious stones. At some point, he realized he had too many gems, so he started selling them at $3,000 a piece. Sometime later, he became a millionaire. How is that possible if he was obviously losing money? Before his gem rush, Ben used to be a billionaire. Since he started losing money, he became only a millionaire. A vampire moved to a big city where nobody knew him to start a brand new life. Still, he just couldn't help it and started biting locals every single night. People got scared and invited a private investigator to solve the problem. A couple of days later, Detective Reitman had 3 suspects. He decided to visit each of them to find out who the vampire was. After visiting all the houses, he was sure he found the vampire. Who was it? Well, the man on the left has loads of garlic in the kitchen, and vampires are scared of it. The second suspect had a lot of silver-plated accessories, earrings, piercings, and a chain. Vampires don't really like silver. The guy in the blue shirt is a vampire. Long ago, in the kingdom of riddles, a criminal was caught. The guards took him to the king, who was famous for loving riddles. King Archibald said that if Harry, the criminal, managed to solve his riddle, he would set him free. Harry agreed, and Archibald drew a 2-foot line on the ground with his foot. The king asked Harry to make this line 2 times shorter without touching it. In the end, Harry was free. What did he do? Harry drew a 4-foot line with his foot, so that the one the king drew got 2 times shorter. Karen took part in a TV quiz where she could win 1 pound of pure gold. This quiz wasn't like ordinary ones. At the end of the show, the host brought her 3 large jars. Each of them has 1 pound of pure gold inside, plus some unpleasant surprise. The first jar has venomous snakes inside, the second one is full of acid, and the third one is filled with boiling hot water. Karen can only use her hands to get the gold out of the jars. She has 30 minutes to think. Which one should she choose? Karen should choose the one with hot water. It cools down pretty fast, and it's gonna get lukewarm in half an hour. Guess who's rich now?
During a visit to an antique store, Rachel found a peculiar piece of gold. It turned out that the man who brought it to the shop mentioned it had once belonged to a pirate named Captain Benedict Jameson. He said he had hidden the rest of his treasures on an island. The map was hidden inside a cave that was located on a beach on the same island, but no one has managed to find the treasure yet. Rachel was intrigued, so she called her friend Jeremy and convinced him to set sail there to search for this treasure. After weeks of sailing, they arrived at the island and looked for the cave first. Can you spot it? Here it is. Three different paths within the cave led to the map. Which one should they choose? Notice the blinking eyes of a wild animal waiting for its prey in the shadows of the second path? There is a rather large spider web blocking the third path. That must only mean there's a large spider that made it. So, the safest option is the first path. They arrived at the end of the cave and found 3 wooden boxes. Each had a different map on it. Only one map will lead them to the treasure. Which map should they choose? The area that the first map shows is surrounded by trees. The second map shows an area surrounded by the ocean. The area on the third map is surrounded by mountains. So, since they're on an island, they should choose the second map. On the back of the treasure map, they found a message written by Captain Benedict himself.
Congratulations, traveler. You've picked the correct map. Now you're a step closer to finding the rest of my wealth. But I warn you, the journey ahead won't be simple. You'll have to solve every riddle that I have for you. And only then will you be able to find my treasure.
According to the map, they had to enter the forest. Captain Benedict left another riddle on the map about it.
My friend will accompany you from here on, but first, you have to find the tree that it lives on. Look for a fruitful palm tree. If you try to bite the fruit I'm talking about, you'll break your teeth. I guarantee.
Take a look around. Which tree do you think that the captain is talking about? Some of these trees don't have any fruit at all, so none of them can be the tree the captain mentioned. These trees have bananas on them, but you won't break your teeth if you eat bananas. Then it must be this tree with coconuts, because you'll definitely break your teeth if you try to bite a coconut. When they got closer to the tree, they noticed an engraving on it. It said,
Look up and find my friend Jonathan the monkey. Take him with you on your journey, because he knows where I hid the key.
Then Rachel and Jeremy looked up and saw 3 monkeys. Which monkey do you think Jonathan is? Notice that the third monkey is holding the same piece of gold as the one Rachel found at the antique store. This guy must have access to the treasure, so he must be Jonathan. Rachel and Jeremy tried taking Jonathan with them, but he refused to even move. How do you think they can convince Jonathan to come with them? Luckily, there's banana trees around, so they should just give him a banana to gain his trust. Jeremy wanted to climb one of the banana trees to pick a banana, but they were all very tall, and it seemed impossible to climb any of them. However, Rachel suddenly burst with excitement after seeing something that would help Jeremy. What did Rachel see? Take a closer look at the trees. One of them has an old rope ladder attached to it. Jeremy can climb up there to get a banana. After Jeremy had picked a banana, Jonathan the monkey got down from the tree to get it. While he was eating his banana, Rachel and Jeremy felt hungry and decided to take a break to eat something too. However, when they reached for the food in their bags, everything was gone. Can you guess what happened? Did you notice something strange as Jeremy was climbing the tree? Let's rewind a bit to show you what happened. The monkeys were stealing all the food from Jeremy and Rachel's bags. Rachel and Jeremy had nothing else to eat other than the bananas off of the trees. But when Jeremy tried to climb up the rope ladder again, the rope broke. Now that they wouldn't be able to pick any bananas, they had to find something else to eat. They walked around and came across a waterfall. Rachel suggested that they catch some fish. Jeremy then caught 3 different fish, but only one of them was safe to eat. Can you tell which one? They should eat the first fish because the second fish has spikes on it, so it's not suitable to eat. The third fish isn't real. It's electronic. It has small cameras instead of eyes. They fell asleep after eating, trying to figure out where the electronic fish came from. The next morning, when Jeremy woke up, he realized that Rachel was gone. Then they heard a man's voice. Jeremy couldn't figure out where it was coming from, but Jonathan the monkey pointed to the electronic fish. The voice said,
I have your friend. Answer this riddle of mine if you want to see your friend again. There's a one-story house in which everything is green. Green walls, green doors, green furniture. What color are the stairs?
Since it's only a one-story house, there aren't any stairs in it. Suddenly, the waterfall stopped flowing, and the cave appeared behind it. The voice said,
Enter.
Inside, an evil scientist was waiting for Jeremy. He said that he was going to give him a chance to save his friend. He took Jeremy to a water tank with 3 different creatures in it. The scientist said,
One of these creatures is Rachel, but the other 2 are not human at all. I will free your friend if you can guess correctly which one she is.
Take a closer look at the second creature. There are definitely human legs covered with seaweed. That must be Rachel. The evil scientist set Rachel free, but didn't let them leave the cave just yet. He showed them 3 gates. If they choose the right one, they'll be free to go. Behind the first gate, hundreds of poisonous snakes are waiting. Behind the second gate, there is a vicious vampire. Behind the third gate, there is a pack of hungry wolves. Which door should they choose? They should choose the second door. It's morning outside. The sun is shining bright, and vampires can't survive the sun. After Rachel, Jeremy, and Jonathan got free, they got back on the trail following the map and arrived at the side of a cliff. There were 3 different bridges in front of them from which they could walk across to the other side. Which bridge should they choose? The wooden bridge looks very old. It won't be able to hold their weight. Even though the metal bridge looks sturdy, it's very narrow and it has no railings. They might lose their balance and fall. So, they should choose the glass bridge. As they continued their journey, they walked into a swamp without noticing, and they got stuck in it. There were 3 ropes hanging from a tree, with which they could pull themselves out. Which rope should they choose? The first and the third rope are no ropes at all. One of them is a snake and the other is a tiger's tail, so they should choose the second rope. After they saved themselves from the swamp, they were finally able to make it to the last destination that was marked on the map. There was a trap door in the ground. They had to go through it, but it was locked with a 5-letter combination padlock. However, Captain Benedict left a clue on how to unlock it in his notes, and the clue was 3, 8, 5, 19, 20. What do you think it means? Each number represents its respective letter in the alphabet. The third letter of the alphabet is C. The 8th letter is H. The 5th letter is E. The 19th letter is S. And the 20th letter is T. So the passcode is the word chest. Once they opened the door, they saw a staircase leading to an underground room. When they entered it, they found 3 different chests. Only one of them holds the treasure. Which one is it? Can you see the ants coming in and out of the first chest carrying small pieces of food? And a sticky, slime-like substance is oozing from the third chest. It must be filled with whatever that is. But there is a golden reflection coming from the second chest. That can only mean the gold is in there. They left the room with the treasure chest. However, the chest was locked, and the map didn't have any more notes or directions on it. Jonathan started pulling Rachel's shirt as if he wanted to say something. Then, she remembered Captain Benedict's previous note.
My friend Jonathan the monkey knows where I hid the key.
So she and Jeremy started following Jonathan. They arrived at a beautiful garden with 3 statues. Each statue was holding a key, and only one of them would open the treasure chest. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the treasure chest. The lock of the chest has a little emerald on it. The first key has a ruby on it. The second key is decorated with an amethyst. And the third key has an emerald on it. Since it matches the